Good morning. Good morning. We're going to get started. Say what? Yep, I'm we're going to get started just so shortly. Great. And we are live and online. Good morning. I'm Andy Frazier. I'm the executive director of the Community Foundation of South Jersey. It was my honor to co-chair the advisory committee of the organizing of this event with Mindy Holman, who you'll hear from shortly. Mindy, it was a pleasure to co-chair this with you, and thank you. Thank you all for being here this morning, both those who are online and those of you who are in person in the room. The fact that we are here, both in person and online, is a testament to our willingness to connect for the benefit of our South Jersey region as an 8-county region. It's also a testament to your individual organizational missions that you're looking to build relationships to move your work forward as of the result of connecting today. Today is a success because of the planning committee led by Mike Willman and Les Vale. Let's give Mike and Les a round of applause. We're indebted to our title sponsor, TD Bank, and our MC today will be Rob Curley and Greg Carlisle from TD Bank. Let's give them a round of applause, and thank you. So, today's agenda is rich with learning and opportunities for building relationships. Please share your learning and insights and perspectives online via social media using the hashtag, take out your pens and pencils, everyone, hashtag SJ Nonprofit Summit. Again, hashtag SJ Nonprofit Summit. I'm grateful to each of you for taking the time out of your day and prioritizing the relationship and learning time that we'll spend. The available to support your engagement is also the Whova app. If you're not engaged on the Whova app, likewise, please download the app and engage via Whova for online and in-person attendees. Please use it to connect and learn ideas from the local, state, regional, and national speakers that we've assembled. You ask, what is the benefit of building relationships and a reason for being in a room like today? I believe that relationships are the most precious assets your organization can steward for the impact that you make in the world. They're more than an exchange, they're more than a transaction. They assume a future and imply a past. It's a resource on which both parties in the relationship can draw. It's a source of power to act with collective action. Creating relationships is fundamental to collective action. And volunteering, supporting, and managing nonprofit organizations is collective action. Represented in each of your organizational missions and services is a gathering of neighbors working together for the common good, for transforming shared beliefs and hopes into impact and action in our South Jersey communities. Your work gives shapes to our region's bold dreams, high ideals, and noble causes. Thank you again for being here today. I'm going to now turn the mic over to our MC, who will help keep us on time and on our agenda today, the infamous or famous Rob Curley.
Thank you, Andy, and good morning, everybody. It's great to see everyone. So on behalf of TD Bank, we are thrilled to be here today as presenting sponsor of this summit, where we will explore what needs to be done to make South Jersey the most nonprofit-friendly region in the nation. And how exciting to be here in person after 2 years of time we'll never forget. It's really nice to see everybody in 3D and not in a series of boxes on my screen. Happy to see the turnout today. So at TD, we talk about making an impact for our customers, our colleagues, and our communities. And that's what the Nonprofit Development Center does. And that's what all of our presenters do. They make an impact. When Mike Willman asked for our support of this unique opportunity, I didn't have to think twice. Not just because you can't say no to Mike without getting the evil eye or some sarcastic comment. He's doing it right now. But because as a lifelong resident of South Jersey who loves to support our nonprofit community, the idea of all of you collaborating toward a common goal is an amazing idea worthy of exploring. And I guess many of you have agreed. We have 350 people signed up for this event, both in person and online. 51 advisory committee members helped put this event together, and it was chaired by Mindy Holman and Andy Frazier. 43 sponsors, which is pretty incredible to think about. and 23 collaborators to help build the papers and the agenda. And all of them are on the scroll that you can see behind me. So in my role as South Jersey Coastal Market President, I oversee all commercial and small business banking south of Monmouth County. My team of 4 regional vice presidents, Greg Carlisle, Chantel Capodicasa, Dave Nielsen, and Mike Schrader, and our 36 relationship managers are committed to helping businesses in New Jersey obtain the financing and banking service they need to grow and thrive and make our communities better. And I would like to acknowledge Greg Carlisle, who's here today. He's going to pinch hit for me the second half of the program, so thanks, Greg. So I was born and raised in Marlton, and I started my career with Commerce Bank, which became TD Bank 33 years ago. And I am proud to say we have grown into a top 10 bank in the United States that happens to be headquartered right here in South Jersey. At TD, we are committed to being America's most convenient bank, whether you choose to use a store, phone, ATM, or mobile banking. We are a full-service financial institution with more than 9.5 million customers, 25,000 employees, and 1,220 stores located from Maine to Florida. As mentioned, TD Bank maintains its U.S. headquarters here in Cherry Hill. We have 226 stores throughout New Jersey, and just under 8,000 of our 25,000 employees are here in our state. As in addition to our corporate headquarters, you will also find our 24/7 live customer call center, as well as TD University in Mount Laurel. So over the years, TD Bank has been recognized for a variety of awards that we are very proud of. Some of these include the Best National Bank and Best Bank for Retirees by Kiplinger, #1 SBA lender in New Jersey, as well as #1 for our entire East Coast footprint. And we have won numerous diversity and inclusion awards, such as Forbes Best Employers for Diversity in the U.S., as well as many others. Aside from supporting our customers' banking needs, we also support our nonprofit community with donations of time and money. As the South Jersey Coastal Market President, I sit on the board of the TD Charitable Foundation, which is our charitable giving arm at TD Bank. Our foundation's area of focus are financial security, a vibrant planet, connected communities, and better health. I am proud to say we awarded over $3.2 million in foundation grants and sponsorships in 2021, just in New Jersey alone. In addition, our employees volunteered over 8,700 hours during 2021 to local nonprofit organizations across New Jersey, many of which are in this room today. One bit of housekeeping before I introduce our next speaker. There's a box on all your tables. I was told do not open it. I don't know what will happen, but I don't want to find out. So, but they are examples from the New Jersey Food Bank. And I guess we'll find out more if you go over and visit their table later, but just don't open the box, please. So now I would like to introduce an inspiring and transformational leader. Dr. Ali Houshmand became Rowan University's 7th president in 2012. Dr. Houshmand cares about South Jersey, and he connects with students, employees, alumni, government leaders, the business community, and the public in a wonderful way. His entrepreneurial approach to higher education has focused on 4 goals: increasing access, improving quality, ensuring affordability, and promoting economic development. And it's safe to say Dr. Houshmand has made a significant impact in all 4 of these goals. But that's not all. Dr. Houshmand also produces and sells an amazing hot sauce called Houshmand's Hazardous Hot Sauce. It's manufactured right here on campus, and all proceeds benefit the Rowan University Student Emergency Scholarship Fund. So please welcome Dr. Houshmand.
Good morning, and thank you, Rob. Good morning, everyone. How delighted I am to see so many of our friends here, from one leader of a nonprofit to all of our leaders in here that are present, as well as those that are virtually present. Welcome to Rowan University. And this really is an example of how nonprofits can impact the quality of life of other people. Before I do that, let me apologize to everybody for the fact that they forgot to put my hot sauce on the table, and there was a wrong hot sauce. It's not my fault if the taste wasn't good. But for the rest of you, if you want, I would be delighted to provide that, especially the nasty, vicious one that can really hurt you in a very big way. Rowan University has been so fortunate over the past 12 years to grow significantly, precisely because of our ability to partner with you people and with business, without which we couldn't have done that. In 10 years, we managed to build $1.5 billion worth of infrastructure, which is unheard of in a small village called Glassboro and the surrounding areas. We started in 2010 with 1,600 employees, and we have grown to 4,200. That means this many people pay their mortgages and put food on the table. We were about 11,000 students. We are now 23,000 students and growing. We were about under $200 million operating budget. Now we are in a $600 million operating budget. We had about $220 million in our endowment and others. Now it's close to $600 million. But the far more important thing during this whole period, we were the first institution after 35 years to not only create a medical school, but integrated another one, making Rowan University only one of two in the nation with both allopathic and osteopathic, and soon veterinary school. And a school that is badly needed in our economy, especially our region in South Jersey. You know, the people who have horses, they know that this is a huge issue in New Jersey. The business alone is $1 billion. So we are so excited to build that right on the intersection of 322 and 55. And for those of you who have got lots of money, and if you like your beautiful name appear on that building, let me know. We can have a good conversation. But the numbers should be really, there should be a lot of zeros in front of it. So I just wanted to really say how happy I am you're here. Welcome to this university. A university that only 11 years ago, virtually anybody who applied could get in here. And it was a regionally ranked master's classified university. Today, Rowan University is Carnegie Research 2 classified, ranked 88th in the nation amongst all the public research universities. And I can assure you, we would be top 100 in the entire country amongst all the best institutions within the first 4 or 5 years. Thank you again. Enjoy this day, and please send your sons and daughters and the nieces and nephews and everybody to Rowan. I promise you we'll take care of them. We will educate them. We will send them back to you as very productive taxpayers. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's a beautiful day. I am Nicole Nance, the Executive Director for the Nonprofit Development Center of Southern New Jersey, the organization that's feeding you this morning. How's that? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you all so much for coming. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping, then I'm going to get off here. How many of you downloaded the Hoover app? Yay! We need you to use it. Come on, use it. Get in there and put some stuff and say, boy, she was loud this morning. Oh my gosh, I was having my breakfast. I didn't expect this. Come on, let's use that Hoover app. One of the things we do as nonprofits is we engage human contact. Come on, everybody, use that app, okay? Can you do that for me? Will you do that? Come on, I need some commitment. Raise your hand. Let me see. I'm looking. Let me see. John, I see you back there. Okay. All right. Now, what we did was we wanted you to, have a little bit of fun. On the Hoover app, if you used it, you got a chance to maybe win a prize. If you put some things in the app, ask some questions and use it a little bit. If you're on the app and you go to the leaderboard, you're going to see who is the winner and who will win this $50 gift card because they were really using the app here, okay? And I think we all know who that is. If you have the app, Lizette Melendez, come on, darling. Thank you so much for using that app. Come on up here and get your gift card. Thank you so much. Listen, we know in the nonprofit sector, yay, come on. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Take a picture. Now, the next contest will be you upload a picture, and the best picture that will be selected by a committee will go on our NPDC website. So come on, upload a picture from today's event. You came out this morning anyway. You might as well have fun, all right? Thank you so much for attending. We appreciate you. Again, Nicole Nance, the Executive Director for the Nonprofit Development Center of Southern New Jersey. Take selfies, take 2 fees, take 3 fees, take 4 fees, take pictures. Come on, let's promote this event. You invested, let's go for it. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, Nicole. So I know we're supposed to hear from the Lieutenant Governor, Sheila Oliver. Is that not happening? All right, so sorry, we had technical difficulties with the video feed, but Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver really wanted to welcome everybody and really kind of signify the significance of this event and how important it is to the state of New Jersey. So she does send her regards. So now I'm honored to introduce another legendary and inspiring leader from our business community, Mindy Holman. As chairwoman of Holman Enterprises, Mindy represents the 3rd generation of family leadership. In all that she does, Mindy embodies and upholds the values established by her grandfather when he opened the first automotive dealership back in 1924. The Holman organization is especially committed to supporting community organizations both financially and through personal involvement, and they do this willingly and with complete humbleness. Mindy leads by example, and her current board affiliations include the Community Foundation of South Jersey, where she is an emeritus board member, and Urban Promise International, where she serves as board chair. In addition, she also happens to be co-chair of the advisory board for this event, and Holman is also a significant financial supporter of the Nonprofit Development Center. So please welcome Mindy Holman.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you to TD Bank for being our presenting sponsor of this, our first ever regional summit for nonprofit organizations. And more important, thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you to everybody that's online. We have more than 300 people that are joining us today, either in person or watching at home. So I have to say that as of about 8:33 this morning, this event is already a tremendous success. We've had more than 24 foundations, institutions of higher learning, for-profit businesses, and other NPOs come together to collaborate with the Nonprofit Development Center of Southern New Jersey, who's the creator and the host of the host organization of this seminal event, to make this summit a reality. And as important, we've had more than 40 individuals and organizations who have shown support in the form of sponsorships or volunteer hours. We actually had to cut off in-person registration today because we were running out of room in the ballroom, which is a great problem to have. So clearly, there's a lot of momentum behind the idea of nonprofits coming together to learn from each other, to identify trends, and to share successes. You guys are all in the business of doing good. Today is about doing good better. And before I go on, I would be remiss if I did not give a shout out to the force behind today's summit. He's not going to like this, but I'm doing it anyway. Mike Willman has literally carried this event on his shoulders for months and months and months. And while there were dozens of people that were involved in getting this going, if it wasn't for Mike, quite simply, we would not be sitting here this morning. I was thinking driving down here, I probably know Mike for like 25 years at this point. And I don't know that I've ever met a bigger champion for the nonprofit sector in Southern New Jersey. So please join me in thanking Mike for making this happen. So why am I here? Well, I'm here first and foremost because Mike described the vision to me, and I'm a big fan of Mike's, and I was a big fan of the vision. But mostly, I'm here because I'm a big fan of all of yours. I'm a South Jersey girl, born and raised. My family's business was started here by my grandfather, as Rob told us, 98 years ago. And one thing that I learned from my grandfather and then from my dad after that was the importance of giving back to our communities. So for just about a century, which is crazy, a century now, that's kind of been a foundational part of who we are. And we've been in this fortunate position to be able to give, but I want you to know that it is an honor to support the work that you do. You guys are a force for good that touches just about every need in our society. You walk shoulder to shoulder with some of our most vulnerable citizens, and you respond to their challenges. You bring beauty and hope into people's lives where none existed before. And I'm just grateful for everything that you do. So why are we all here? Well, there are probably a few different reasons for that, but thanks to those of you who took time to fill out the pre-summit survey, because that helps answer the questions, and also a shout out to Angie McGuire for all of her work on getting that survey done. You're going to have a copy of the final results, so I'm just going to hit on some of the highlights. First and most encouraging, 82% of you agreed or strongly agreed with the premise of the summit to make South Jersey the most NPO-friendly region in the country. Now that's a lofty goal, and it requires promotion of philanthropy, collaboration, and capacity building, and those are topics that are all going to be touched on this morning. There was also a desire to better understand the work of the colleagues in the region and to share success stories, and that too is going to be addressed. Our survey uncovered that 90% of you agree that collaboration will create bigger and better outcomes in our work as individual organizations. And I couldn't agree more with that. There's a thirst for collaborative effort. It's obvious, and there are a lot of reasons for this. First of all, there's the opportunity to identify and pursue resources together. There's the opportunity to engage in collective policy and advocacy discussions. There's an opportunity to restructure practices, services, and organizations by working with others. And certainly we're seeing this trend of funders who are looking for cooperative efforts. The Pascal Seitz Foundation, for example, has committed more than $52 million in the last 7 years to Cumberland, Gloucester, and Atlantic counties for a whole host of initiatives, and they're all based on the premise that funding be eligible to people that are involved in significant collaborative efforts. So what's in store for us for the rest of the day? Throughout the morning, we're going to be hearing from 3 more speakers: Zora Zori from the Candid Organization, Nonprofit Development Chair Les Cohen, and also our keynote speaker, Demi Lee Thibault, who along with her husband Tim are philanthropists of international significance, but have also made an impact locally. Interspersed this morning, we're going to have 3 panel discussions, all led by some of my favorite people: Christine Healy, Lois Greco, and Andy Frazier. And we'll have some final remarks by Andy, Les Vail, and Nicole with an eye toward what comes next. Also, take some time during the breaks just to connect with your fellow attendees. Collaboration can't happen without trust, and trust comes from building relationships, and relationships just start with, "Hi, I'm Mindy." So use our time together to your advantage. This morning's gathering is not meant to be an end unto itself, but the first step along a journey. And what that journey is going to look like, it's up to you. We need your feedback to determine what matters to you, and you're going to have some different means of providing that. We anticipate having listening sessions in the coming months to understand how best to accomplish the goal of being the most NPO-friendly region in the country. And then there's a post-summit survey, and I ask you, please take your time to deliver your thoughts on that. By doing so, you're helping to craft our collective future. So in the summer of 2019, I spent some time in Malawi with Urban Promise International, and it was an amazing trip. And I learned an awful lot when I was there. And one thing I learned was an African proverb that seems very apt for this gathering. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So let's see how far we can go together. I'm going to be excited to watch as we move forward collectively to create even more remarkable impact here in the southern part of our state. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for everything that you do. And I'll turn it back over to Rob.
Thank you, Mindy, for your leadership and vision to help bring this summit to life. And there is no organization in South Jersey that gives back so much than the Holman organization, so thank you. So now I'm proud to introduce our first segment, which will be led by another amazing leader, Christine Healy. Christine serves as the president of the Healy Education Foundation, which is focused on the sustainability and growth of Catholic schools. Under Christine's leadership, the foundation has invested in more than 115 elementary and high schools across 8 dioceses in Delaware, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. Christine also co-founded and chairs the board of the Catholic Partnership Schools, a new approach to Catholic urban education through which 5 once separate and parish-based elementary schools are now administered by a single nonprofit entity. She also co-founded We Can Do Better New Jersey in 2010 to advocate for school choice throughout our state. Please welcome Christine Healy, who will moderate our first panel.
Wow, it's great to be here. What a group, virtually and otherwise, but to be in the room. Thanks, Mindy. Thank you, everyone. It's amazing to see all of you here. I just want to say it's so great that you all really were taking your valuable time. I mean, anyone who's been involved with a nonprofit knows that time is super valuable. And so to be able to carve that out, to be together is huge. I do hope that when you leave today, that you walk away with a sense of magnitude of like who you are as a collective of nonprofit organizations of South Jersey, and that there's a sort of kind of pride in the potential of what it means to be a part of a peer network, right, of so many good people. And in addition to being, to aspire to this goal of the most friendly nonprofit organization in terms as a region, there's this goal of collaboration, and I just thought you should know what you're up against. So I did like a quick Google to see, you know, what are some of the epic collaborations of all time? The best musical collaboration, one of them anyway, of all time was David Bowie and Queen, just so you know. One of the best collaborations of all time for brands was Sharpie and Nike, Uber and Spotify, Doritos and Taco Bell. So just so you guys know, when you're getting out there working together, you know what you're in for. Okay, right now I have the amazing pleasure of kicking off a series of short videos that will mirror to you the South Jersey community that you represent. As many of you know, I'm involved with the nonprofit Catholic Partnership Schools. Thanks, Rob, for talking about that. So I count myself as one among you in this work. And so I'm really proud for that reason. So, and also when I began to view some of these videos, I mean, it was just such a feel-good moment. I mean, if there is a down second in my life, I feel like all I need to do is spin back and watch the inspiring folks that are on these videos. So with that, I think we could maybe begin. And shall we play?
Greetings, South Jersey nonprofit community. This is Larry Abrams, Executive Director of Book Smiles, and I'm standing outside of the Book Smiles Book Bank in Cherry Hill. I was just checking one of our bins, one of our collection bins for books. You see, people for the past 5 years have been donating hundreds of thousands of gently used children's books to Book Smiles. And what do we do with them? We give them to underserved communities, kids living in book deserts. We believe so strongly that book wealth is something that's very real, and kids in affluent communities have it. Kids in poorer districts do not have it. So what we do is we close the gap, helping with literacy skills. Every child in South Jersey and in Philadelphia should have books of their own to keep. So this is the book bank. Notice how small it is. We're really cramped. We don't have much space. We're a nonprofit running on a shoestring budget. But the good news is we're growing and we're expanding. And we're going to soon be moving to a facility up in Pennsauken where we'll be able to move with 4,300 square feet over 1 million books per year. And so much of this relies on networking. So much relies on getting that book wealth. So much relies on just raising the funds. So it's my fervent hope and wish that we get stronger as a nonprofit community and help each other. And that is all I have to say. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. And I'll leave you now with this picture of thousands of books just waiting to go into the hands of kids who really need them. You take care.
Wow, how cool. Yeah. So Just to say, Larry Abrams is is awesome. I had the great pleasure of meeting him earlier. The number I saw was 750,019, the number of books that have been distributed since 2017. He corrected me. He said it's closer to 800,000, which is pretty amazing. So well done, Larry, for all that great work. The next video up will be from Ranch Hope, which is based out of Alloy. Dave Bailey Jr. is the CEO. And Ranch Hope fosters environments that transform lives, empowering through Christ-centered love and compassion. And into the video today, he will introduce a young man named Alex from Camp Edge. Alex has something interesting to say about his why. So let's see the video and see what he has to say.
Hi, I'm Dave Bailey. I'm the Executive Director of Ranch Hope, in our 58th year of serving children, youth, and families from throughout the state of New Jersey. We are just so humbled and thrilled to be participating in this year's Nonprofit Summit here in Southern New Jersey. During our 58 years, we have certainly evolved and grown into providing a number of services for children, youth, and families, from shelter care, residential treatment, and supervised independent living apartments for young men as well. We also provide a wide variety of summer experiences, of summer camps and outdoor experiences for kids. Now also participating with the Salem County Reactors and hosting a mountain bike team for over 40 middle school and high school participants. Ultimately, Ranch Hope is a healing community. We've tried since 1964 to provide a community where kids can grow in their educational experience, grow clinically if necessary, and of course, grow spiritually. We also provide a wide variety of life skills and programming to provide children with employment training as well. I'm really excited to introduce you to one of our former students today, Alex. Alex was with us when he was dealing with some co-occurring medical and clinical issues, mental health issues of his own at a particular time in his life. At one point, he even came up with his own philanthropic endeavor where he raised funds for other kids who were dealing with medical conditions like his own. Now, Alex is out on his own. He's starting a family. He's employed. And we'd like to hear a little bit from Alex from his own words.
But we were trying to figure out what we could do to bring awareness to diabetes.
That's something personal.
Yeah, it was something personal to me because I've been dealing with diabetes since I was 5, and I don't know. I just felt like we should bring more light to it. We decided on a polar plunge right there.
Let me see that picture.
That picture's right there. The buoy's still there. It's right. I was right in front of the buoy. Well, for one, I used to respond to things with a lot of anger. I know now you gotta figure out what's going on first. There shouldn't be anger involved in decisions. I learned that. I also learned that you gotta have a why to why you do things. I should say, with my son that's on the way, I want to be able to help him find his purpose in life instead of...
Congratulations. You know, Alex said the why, why for my son, why you have to find your purpose, which is really beautiful. So also the next up we'll have is Food Bank of South Jersey, which is based in Pennsauken. Fred Wysiak is president and CEO. And since 1985, the Food Bank of South Jersey has been building food security for their neighbors in Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, and Salem counties, a really wide network, teaching folks how to eat more nutritiously, helping them find sustainable ways to improve their lives. I saw somewhere that they distribute 17 million pounds of food a year. Crazy. So with that.
The Food Bank of South Jersey, it's the Food Bank for South Jersey. We are here to provide an immediate solution to the urgent problem of hunger. And the 3 pillars that we are working on is food, nutrition, and sustainability. We have been serving 4 counties for the last 36 years. And within those 4 counties, there's 58 communities that we actually serve. That includes 200 plus partner agencies.
To the help of the Food Bank of South Jersey and the incredible staff they have, that make it possible for us to effectively serve our community. And it's just unfortunate that we're in an area where there's a food desert. So the need is great. You have families that are in great need, and I'm telling you, what brings a smile to our faces is when we see this family come in and we see the fear of not having food erased from their faces, and to see the tears of joy rolling down their eyes.
Another pillar of our mission is our health and wellness. We want to bring education and awareness to be resourceful in finding healthy foods, preparing healthy foods, so there's less food waste. We have close to 25 health educators. This wonderful team will go out to our communities and they'll teach health education around food sourcing, how to find the right foods, the healthy foods.
We brought one of the chefs with us, and they deconstructed a chicken and took everything out of these boxes and miraculously made a classroom into a kitchen.
Our third pillar is sustainability. How do we help individuals have healthy, sustainable lives? Unemployment, affordable housing, food insecurity. All these issues are interrelated. Families really have tough decisions. Do we pay medical bills? Do we pay the electricity? How do we purchase food for our family? The foundation of a healthy, sustainable life is food, healthy, nutritious food. Hunger is real in America, and the 4 counties we serve is no different. We know that 1 in 7 adults are food insecure. 1 in 5 children, you think about that, 1 in 5 children. It may be someone you know, a neighbor, a friend, or even your own family. But this is unacceptable. And so as the food bank, we're here to ensure no one goes to bed hungry. So how can you help? Please visit our website, foodbanksj.org. You can donate your time and you can donate financial resources. Every dollar equals 3 meals. Another way you can help, volunteering. We cannot do it alone with the staff that we have. All the support that you can give us, we certainly will appreciate in helping us end hunger here in South Jersey.
Congratulations on that work. The next we have up is the New Jersey YMCA State Alliance, or known as the Y Alliance, based in Trenton. Darren Anderson Sr. is CEO. The Y Alliance brings teams of talented people together serving communities throughout the many, many YMCA sites, which is great. And we have a great video coming up on this. You guys are going to want to go back to camp after you see this. This is the Gloucester County Y Summer Camp video. So.
Sunglasses, like a brand new pair of jeans. I feel like taking chances. I feel a lot like 17. I feel like windows roll down new city streets and cabs. I feel like anything can happen, laughing. You take me like when I close my eyes and don't even care if anyone sees me dancing. Like I can fly and I don't even think of touching the ground. Like a heartbeat skip, like an open page, like a one-way trip on an aeroplane. It's the way that I feel when I'm with you. Brand new. Like a young John Cusack, like making big mistakes. I feel like for the first time in a long time, I am not afraid. I feel like a kid. Never thought it'd feel like this. Like when I close my eyes and don't even care. Like I can fly, and I don't even think of touching the ground. Like a heartbeat.
Fantastic. Okay, those kids have some moves, seriously. Okay, next up is The Bridge, which is based out of Virtua and is in Camden. Renee Pinardo is the director, and her daughter Maria is the powerhouse that works with her. I've known Renee for years, like 18 years ago, actually, when I first met her. But it turns out The Bridge has been around for 40 years or so. It was just incredible. It's been a game changer in the lives of untold number of Camden youth. I was asking her how many. She said possibly like 100,000 kids. Amazing. Empowering them. With that, we're going to hear a little bit about their story, but do make sure you find Renee today. She's amazing.
Hello, my name is Maria, and I'm so grateful to share the Bridge program at Virtua Health with you. The Bridge is an award-winning empowerment and leadership program that has been serving Camden City and the broader South Jersey community for more than 40 years.
Hi, I'm Renee. I was one of the original young people who helped start the program in 1979. The Bridge was developed by young people for young people. Our mission has always been to empower people to live their very best lives through enhancing life skills, building healthy communities, and living with purpose, love, and compassion for oneself and others.
Hi, I'm Crystal, and my 2 years at Bridge has helped me become more successful in working on school projects with others, strengthen my voice, and be a self-advocate. During the process of being accepted as an intern at my local government office, the Bridge has also supported me with resume guidance and interview coaching.
Hi, my name is Elvis. As an autistic person, it was initially hard for me to maintain social connections, but thanks to the Bridge, I've been able to achieve things like having a high GPA in college, maintaining a good job at Wegmans, and maintaining healthy relationships.
Hi, my name is Lana, and I started at the Bridge over 10 years ago. I know firsthand that the Bridge helps prepare youth and young people like myself to be resilient when challenges and issues arise. This has supported me in so many ways, such as during family struggles, healing from my trauma, and along my own educational journey to earn my Master's of Science in Community and Trauma Counseling and become a youth counselor.
Hi, my name is Peter Burgos. Having grown up at the Bridge, I know how positively it can impact a young person. The Bridge saved my life and helped develop me into the man I am today. Now, as an adult, my wife and I use the skills at home with our own children. I've also carried these skills into my career as a Camden County youth coach.
The Bridge program can be your bridge too.
Join us for a free weekly leader lab for youth and young adults ages 13 and older. Or discover our mentorship program, which further supports young people as they embark on their career journey.
Visit bridgewood.org or search The Bridge 1980 on Facebook.
Congratulations. I know she's fashimmeled. She's fashimmeled, right? Oh my God, it's amazing. I know, and Maria's out there virtually, so hey, just saying. Okay, fantastic. Next up, we have Girls on the Run of New Jersey East, based out of Camden and Ocean counties. Sydney Daves is the executive director. This is a cool organization. Girls on the Run inspires girls to be joyful, healthy, and confident. Love that. Volunteer coaches deliver a fun, experience-based curriculum that creatively integrates running. Each girl completes a celebratory 5K at the end of the season. And statewide, they've served, I think, 15,000 girls over the last 20 years, so be prepared to be inspired by this video.
How do you measure a girl's potential? Do you find a yardstick and mark her progress? Do you grade her on a scale from 1 to 10? How do you measure something as immeasurable as a girl's potential? You don't. You support her, you encourage her, and you teach her how to unleash her power on the world. At Girls on the Run, we're more than a running program. We believe that every girl deserves the chance to boldly pursue her dreams. And we're on a mission to make sure all girls understand how limitless their potential is. From handling social pressure and reframing negative thoughts, to dealing with challenges at home and at school. Our unique lessons are taught by dedicated volunteer coaches who help girls develop life skills and strategies they can use in all areas of their lives. A recent independent study led by Dr. Maureen Weiss, an expert in positive youth development, found that it's this combination, our intentional life skills curriculum and highly trained coaches, that is key to our program's impact. And that impact is something we can measure. Because of Girls on the Run, 85% of girls said that they were able to manage their emotions. 80% reported they were able to resolve conflicts. 90% said they helped others. And 91% agreed they had learned intentional decision-making. In total, 97% of girls said they learned critical life skills at Girls on the Run that they are using at home, at school, and with their friends. Girls who were least active at the start of the program increased their physical activity by more than 40%. The study also found that the program inspired a long-term impact that positively changed girls during the 10-week program and beyond. 85% improved in confidence, competence, caring, character, or connection to others. Overall, the study showed that participating in Girls on the Run transformed girls' lives by helping them increase their self-confidence, develop healthy relationships, and feel good about themselves. Seeing this transformation is extraordinary, but being part of it can be absolutely life-changing. At an age when girls are constantly trying to measure up to ideas of who they should be, when they're still discovering who they are, Girls on the Run shows them that their potential isn't just enormous, it's beyond measure.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Next up, we have Caregiver Volunteers of Ocean County. Megan O'Keefe is the executive director. Caregiver Volunteers of Central Jersey is a community-based solution to senior isolation. Through a vast grassroots network of civic organizations, congregations, community groups, healthcare providers, and others are able to connect seniors who have limited support networks to compassionate people who are local. These connections help them to retain their independence and age in their homes. Can there be anything more important than that kind of work? Wow. 1,200 volunteers in the past, I think, year, assisting over 2,000 senior citizens, so massive impact. Okay, let's roll this one.
Well, over my years, I've worked with so many volunteers, and they've all been wonderful. I've been here 20 years, and over those 20 years, I've been privileged to meet so many wonderful volunteers that are willing to give of their time, to work with the caregiver staff, to bring our free supportive services out into the communities, and our receivers are so grateful for that, and so are we.
For our volunteers, yes, I don't know if there's a term better than resilient we could use. They really, were the superheroes of the day, I thought, especially to the people that we help, because, they don't have anyone pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. It's, our volunteers were that lifeline, and, that was really special to see them all step up without a second thought. When you look at that, for that core group of people to be able to do that and still provide 1,600 rides and 11,000 calls. It's just amazing, all of that work in the midst of what was chaos for most people.
Since February, I've driven at least 24 people, and I must say that they're all very pleasant. They're all very appreciative also. I had one woman the other day try to hand me some money. She says, "Here, this is for gas." I said, "No, I can't take that." I says, "You can donate that to New Jersey Caregivers." She says, "Well, I already do." I says, "Oh, then," she says, "but I want to pay you for your gas." I says, No. I said, "It's not necessary." I said, so they are very appreciative, and which, as a volunteer, it makes me feel good.
Well, right now I'm visiting Bob, and Julia matched us up because Bob is a Yankee fan and I am a Red Sox fan. Truth. And When I'm sitting with Bob, Regina is either running multiple errands or taking a nap because she's pretty much exhausted.
When you are home with a person such as my husband, who I love, you have to get out yourself. Sandy comes here every Friday. He gives me the opportunity to have someone that I could trust. That's the most important thing. She doesn't leave his side. This girl is amazing. I just can't brag enough.
I think about my own family, and I think about how after I'm long gone, I hope that somebody would take the time to visit somebody in my family and make them feel vibrant and alive and useful and make them happy. That's what I try to do for the lady that I call my lady.
Fantastic. Yeah, that one gentleman was just talking about how, just people want, they want to pay him, and he was just donate to caregivers, and how much he gets out of it, which is we all know how true that is when you do that kind of work. Next up, we have the Atlantic City Arts Foundation based in Atlantic City, and Joyce Hagan is the executive director. Simply put, they believe that individuals and communities benefit from access to the arts. They work to add public art to the city landscape, to facilitate art experiences for residents, and to nurture and support the growth of the creative community in Atlantic City. I think there are something like 60 murals all over the city as a result of the work of Atlantic City Arts Foundation. Pretty cool. Anyway, with that, shall we roll it?
Hi, I'm Kate O'Malley. I'm the Operations Manager of the Atlantic City Arts Foundation. We're a 501c3 nonprofit in Atlantic City focused on public arts and fostering community pride and civic self-esteem through interaction with our diverse arts programs in the city. We have the city's largest mural arts program, like the one you see behind me. This is one of 70 murals we have in the city. We also have a program called Arteriors, which is a art pop-up program, as well as Chalk About AC, which is our community-based chalk activity that we do every October. All of our programs are meant to support both our residents, our tourists, and also to foster a healthy and thriving arts community in Atlantic City.
My favorite Arts Foundation project was Arterior Showboat. It was really cool kind of seeing two worlds collide in terms of the art movement in Atlantic City and what we know as casino culture. So seeing all those artists take over that space was a really incredible experience.
The murals in Atlantic City helped me inspire myself to keep going and create more stuff.
The Atlantic City Arts Foundation has been huge in helping me as an emerging artist. They've given me opportunities, given me lots of chances to paint, to use chalk, to get into different mediums, and really just help me get into Atlantic City and all the art there is here.
Having the Arts Foundation is really important because I feel like they bridge the gap. I feel like the arts programs and different things are missing from this area, and I think it's very important for the community and the youth to have something like this in the city.
Wow, fantastic. Cool. Okay, next up, the Woodland Community Development Corps, based in Camden and founded by Reverend Floyd White. The Woodland Community Development Corps' mission is to improve social and economic conditions in the city, particularly in Morgan Village neighborhood. They provide advanced education opportunities to youth of the city to include college prep and youth employment. They also provide aid, a food pantry, and neighborhood support through community gardens, which is really great. If I'm right, they also run a women's veterans program, which is really cool. Anyway, next one to roll.
I'm Reverend Floyd White III, the President of the Woodland Community Development Corporation in Camden, New Jersey. Our job is to increase economic conditions for families in the city of Camden. We do a lot of work there. We do community gardens, we do military veterans, and we have sports activities. We had an NFL alumni camp last summer, and we have some participants from the camp. To my left is Joey, and he'll talk a little bit about what they did.
Hi, I'm Joey Purdy, and so
we usually we usually play catch and all that. We pass the ball around, and we usually you put your foot in the ground, and yeah. So.
These men had a real good day that day. They learned a lot about working together, teamwork, attitude, behavior, and they learned from the best NFL alumni. And you can see it was a pretty diverse group, and they have a lot of energy. So Reverend Floyd White III, president of Woodland Community Development Corporation, and these men will be running off into the sunset at this time.
Thank you.
They're fantastic. I mean, what is not to love on the faces of those kids? Whew. Great work. Next up, the Riverfront Renaissance Center of the Arts, based in Millville. Diane Roberts is the executive director. More than 100 artists are actually listed on their website, which is really cool, in support of the thriving arts community. RRCA is an accessible and safe place for artists and the community in Millville, which is in Cumberland County. With 21 years of exhibits and opportunities for emerging artists and professional artists, it's a space also for theater and music events, youth, art exhibits, and education. Let's see what they have to say.
Welcome to the Riverfront Renaissance Center for the Arts, in the heart of downtown Millville, Cumberland County. We currently have children's art in our atrium gallery space, as you can see right here. This center has been open since 2001, bringing an opportunity for the community to have access to arts and culture right here. This is our main gallery. We offer exhibit space for artists and groups of artists, many open calls for art. There are many local artists in the region. Generally, the 9 southern counties are represented by our artists here, emerging artists to professional artists. Everybody gets an opportunity. We bring arts education programs to youth and adults. Teachers come from our artist group that we have here. More art. Year-round gift shop opportunity for the community to support artists by purchasing many items, prints, jewelry, everything you can think of. Our other gallery space is across the hall. Every month we have an art opening for the community to come out with live music. Groups use this space for theater performances, music events, teen arts festival, many other activities that we could name a lot of. This is our Wit Gallery, another group show in here. We also have a whole second floor dedicated to artist studios. Busy place.
Wow, congratulations on that one too. So cool. I just want to visit there. Whew. Last but not least is the Garden State Wine Growers Association, based in Haddonfield. Devin Perry is the executive director. The Garden State Wine Growers Association is the NPO for all New Jersey-based wineries, vineyards, and allied businesses. It serves as a centralized information repository for resources and a clearinghouse for industry members, and it offers a unified voice advocating for issues important to the entire region of winery and vineyard operations. I heard somewhere they say they're like Jersey fresh farm to table of the grape in the glass. Right, I added that part. Okay. They provide the branding, the marketing, the PR, education, and also legislation and regulation support for the furtherance of the vineyard and wine industries in the Garden State. I'm a supporter of that. And with that, let's see what they have to say.
I'm Devin Perry, the Executive Director of the Garden State Wine Growers Association, representing all the wineries in New Jersey. I've been so inspired over the past 2 years of the resilience of our industry in hospitality and tourism, how we've come together, stayed together, and continued to provide the public with everything that's beautiful and delicious across the country.
Devin, you're pretty new to the association. What brought you to the organization, and what are you thinking about in terms of some of the plans ahead?
So I formerly was the executive director of the Tourism Bureau for Southern New Jersey, which covered the outer coastal plain viticultural area. So a large number of the state's wineries exist in the outer coastal plain. And then prior to that, I ran an online restaurant database serving 10 major cities with a focus on wine-friendly ratings. And at the time we sold, we had over 53,000 restaurants in that database, and a pretty good experience with wine and BYOBs in the New Jersey and Greater Philadelphia area. So being a part of the Garden State Wine Growers Association now, given that previous experience, I can see opportunities for making sure that people understand within the drivable market where we're one tank of gas away from 43 million people, that you can open your eyes in the middle of wine country, New Jersey, and feel like you're in some of the oldest and most beautiful wineries in the world.
And with your experience, you can help bring about the idea that tourism in New Jersey is beyond the shore, that there are other aspects of the state that perhaps people don't think about.
We're really easy to get around in. So you can visit a few wineries in a day or make a weekend of a wine region experience and still head out to the beach and head to some of our beautiful amusement attractions as well. So to your point, I think, a tourism background hopefully will help bridge together the connective elements between the wineries as well as celebrate the wineries themselves.
When people think of good wine, they often think about California, France, Italy, New Zealand, Chile. I could go on. How do you get New Jersey wines elevated to a level where they're on par with, let's start with California?
So we have something that happened actually in our state called the Judgment of Princeton, where we had double-blind tastings of wines from the Garden State and wines from California, and we performed quite well. Our wines also are competing and winning in national and international competitions up against California on the West Coast, as well as international celebrated wine regions. So one of the things that we're doing in 2022 and bridging into 2023 is launching a campaign called Finely Grown, where we're celebrating the fine wines of the state of New Jersey. And truthfully putting the garden back into the Garden State by letting everyone know this is an agritourism mega powerhouse when it comes to our economy, as well as, a visitor experience. So we should be, buying local when it comes to wine. And I think, to your point, what we really need to do is let people know, if you're familiar with the wine regions in Australia, California, Bordeaux, the Finger Lakes, Virginia, if you like X bottle of wine from those regions, why don't you try this bottle of wine from our region?
Well, it's been great talking to you. I look forward to see what you do for the wineries in our state. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for watching. For more clips and episodes of NJ Business Beat, subscribe to the NJ Spotlight News.
Fantastic. Wow. So I just like to thank all the organizations that allowed us to tell their story, and just remembering that this is just like a fraction of who this community is, and just to join me to recognize, I think, the pride in this community and who you represent. And thank you for letting me share a little bit of your day with you today. So, Rob, to you.
Thank you, Christine, and what a great set of videos to really help demonstrate what success looks like. I can tell you in the corporate world, collaboration among stakeholders is so important, when you bring talent and resources together to achieve great goals. So I really hope what comes out of this is that we all understand the importance of collaboration amongst our nonprofit community to really make South Jersey the best that it can be. So now I know all of you are excited to be at an in-person event and cannot wait to mingle and talk with each other, but we really want to keep the agenda moving as we have a lot to cover. We will have plenty of time for networking at the end of the event, so we're going to take a 10-minute break. When we come back, my colleague, Greg Carlisle, who's the Regional Vice President of Gloucester, Cumberland, Salem at TD Bank, is going to take over as the MC. But please be respectful of our speakers and be back in your seats in 10 minutes. Thank you.
wanted a company that led the project, that came to it and said, okay, this is your vision, we understand what your vision is, and this is how the vision is going to be executed. And that's exactly what happened with Perlo Productions.
Perlo came back as someone that took the time to understand our unique needs and unique challenges as a business and really crafted a plan with us hand in hand.
When I approached Mike, I pretty much had my own ideas of what I thought would work, and he was incredibly receptive to listening to those, but had the expertise needed to guide me because he's been doing these videos for a long time and they do work and connect. I mean, I responded to them when I watched them on his website.
So good morning. If we could have everyone return to their seats, we're ready to resume our program. So I hope everybody was able to get some refreshments as we head back to our program. If you could please take your seats. So how wonderful is it to be back in person, right? The energy's in the room, everybody's having great conversations, and we don't see these little Zoom circles going around, so it's kind of nice. But welcome back from break. I just want to reassure you that you are in the right room, even though I'm not the infamous Rob Curley. In the spirit of spring in baseball, we've channeled our inner Phillies game plan and have gone to the bullpen at the midway part of our program. I'm Gregory Carlisle, Regional Vice President for TD Bank, and I'm happy to be here with you this morning to take us through the rest of our agenda, as Rob had to leave a little bit early. So all jokes aside, even though we are back in person, we do still live in a little bit of a world of virtual reality and Zoom meetings. So for this segment, I know a candid conversation is on the agenda, but our next presenter is going to be joining us from a Zoom call. So there's really not going to be an interchange or a dialogue. It's going to be more of a presentation style. So with that said, we're excited to have Zora Zouri, Vice President of Candid Networks, formerly known as GuideStar and the Foundation Center. Candid connects social sector professionals around the globe to inform to information and resources that they need to do good. And Zora is going to talk about the South Jersey potential that lies ahead of us. Please welcome Zora Zouri. I'll connect you over there.
So a big hello to everybody that's here with us on Zoom, and also to those that are together in person. I'm a little envious because I'm not too far from you. I'm based up here in Jersey City. Unfortunately, based on some other conflicts, I couldn't make it down there in person, but happy for this new reality where we can all unapologetically connect virtually in person or in hybrid settings. I do have a PowerPoint to help kind of guide our conversation here today. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment just to give a shout out and a warm thank you to the Nonprofit Development Center of Southern New Jersey and all of the supporting organizations that are making this happen today, and as well as Vicky Fernandez, who extended an invitation to myself and Catalina Spinell, who is my colleague from Candid, to join all of you. So I'm excited to be a part of the discussion on building a collaborative infrastructure that will continue to position South Jersey for success and evolving and continuing NPO-friendly region in the country. So the focus of my conversation with all of you today, and again, just being unapologetically candid, I also
recording in progress.
A little bit of a casual tone in what we present. I'll be taking us on a high-level view of the trends and the data and the disruptions we've all witnessed and lived through over the last few years. So we'll do a high-level view and then essentially narrow down some of the data we have specific to South Jersey. For those of you that might be wondering, a copy of today's presentation will be made available on the WOVA app. And at some points in our conversation today, the links for some of the sites or resources that I speak to will be posted by my colleague Catalina in the chat here. And those also will be available on WOVA for those that are attending in person. So thank you for the introduction to Candid. And just to build on that a little bit more, we're a nonprofit that was formed only 3 years ago by bringing together two longstanding organizations. GuideStar, which was mentioned, had the most comprehensive data about nonprofits in the United States, and Foundation Center, which has the most comprehensive data about funders and their giving. And collectively now, as Candid, we are the largest source of information on how this broader ecosystem we call the social sector connects. And so together, As Candid, we have an unparalleled view of the social sector with profiles of all operating US-based nonprofits, as well as more than 240,000 grantmaker profiles. As some additional context, our data comes from 3 sources. One, it's publicly available data through the IRS filings in the 990 forms. 2, it's through real-time data sources such as news, social media, websites, etc. And then finally, the data is actually shared with us directly by nonprofits and foundations. And so Candid's tools and resources are widely used by funders to find and learn more about organizations working on issues, geographies, and populations that they want to invest in. And then by nonprofits to identify potential sources of funding, and by researchers to draw insights about trends in the social sector. And it really doesn't stop with us. The data behind Candid's profiles is also used far and wide through a rich array of partners. So our data is included in giving platforms like Amazon Smile, Facebook, all of the major donor advised funds, including Fidelity Charitable and a number of other financial institutions. And so when a nonprofit shares their information on Candid, that same data becomes available when anyone looks up a nonprofit, let's say on Volunteer Match or any other partner entity. So with that said, just starting off on a broad scale view, humanity really is experiencing seemingly constant change and challenges, and no one entity can really solve everything alone. And so business, the social sector, and government are all connected in the way that we are defining the social sector is it's the domain of private action towards public good. In a moment, Catalina is going to share a link to our US social sector dashboard. But just zeroing in a little bit on what we mean when we're talking about the social sector, we really do see it as a vibrant community. And while we think of the social sector as distinct from business and government, the borders among the sectors really are getting blurrier by the day. And organizations in the social sector represent a wide range of structures and strategies, but are generally self-governing and primarily focused on a social mission. And so while the most common form of charitable organizations as defined by the IRS is a 501c3 status, there are about 20 other types of 501cs out there. This social sector dashboard is a live free resource that we have available online. The data you see here is based mostly on IRS reported data from 2020. So the numbers have evolved over time. In our reportings, it shows 1.4 million nonprofits as of 2020. Those numbers have increased to approximately 1.7 million by now. So just a little bit of a landscape scan to set the context for what we're talking about, which is really about the increase in investment in nonprofits and the increasingly important role that they serve in our world to bridge the gaps between what's funded through private corporations, what's supported through government agencies, and what's left there in the middle to bridge social good and help to interrupt the disruptions. And so this word cloud displays a lot of what have been buzz phrases for us over the last several years. So risk management, adaptability, disaster, in-person, hybrid, needs for services, and so forth. There's certainly a lot of disruption that we've all dealt with over the last several years. So I'm going to present you 4 key trends. I know for some folks, COVID is something we'd really like to look at in the rearview mirror, but while the pandemic was certainly a shock to our sector, specifically nonprofits, many have really argued that the main impact has been to accelerate trends that have been underway for decades. And at their core, nonprofits are providing a service of linking donors to recipients, essentially the ultimate beneficiaries of their services, whether it's people, whether it's society, whether it's the environment. And this has always been a difficult task. And of course, COVID has made it a lot tougher. And I think there is a new normal that we have all heard about and we're still kind of clinging on to and trying to shift away from or have as part of our toolbox and how we deal with new challenges. But now this new normal is really coming into view, and we just want to take a moment to look back and compare where the sector is today to a few years ago. And so along with that trend of COVID as the great accelerator, I have been hearing a lot this tagline of the time is now, which I think really is relevant. We hear it in every Zoom call, we hear it in conference settings or out in the field as nonprofits and funders are really looking at or feeling very thirsty for information to help in their decision-making processes, whether it is more informed decisions on who they're funding from a grant maker lens, or more informed decisions on how nonprofits are adapting to deliver services that were delivered in settings that were no longer possible as a result of COVID. And so the timing now speaks mostly to how organizations like ours have had to pivot and provide data in a new way in response to some of the biggest issues of our time. One of them that we're talking about here is COVID. There's climate change. There's also the racial reckoning. And so one of the ways that we have had to pivot as a nonprofit ourselves is to really dig deep and roll up our sleeves on research, on data, on a quest for data and research and publications and trainings related to COVID, for example. And so we built a special coronavirus site as an example of how real-time access to information and technology and collaboration could be possible. I'll also share, and I should have mentioned this when I was talking about the broader landscape of the social sector, that 92% of nonprofits in the United States have a revenue of, or have a budget of under $1 million. And of that grouping, 89% of them are under 500,000 in budgets. I share that because there was a lot of new normals that we all had to deal with, including technology adoption that may have been unplanned for a number of nonprofits. And so there's been a pivot around that, as well as a pivot around collaboration, which I think has helped to pave the way for sharing back-end resources, securing or pursuing joint fundraising, and a ton of other opportunities like that. A second trend, and I'm speaking a little fast because I want to get to South Jersey, and all of these I think also apply to South Jersey as well, is that, you know, nonprofits have needed to adapt. And so they're really focusing on adapting how they're serving their beneficiaries and also how they're surviving as nonprofits. And so serving in new ways might include an example like one of our funding information network partners, which is a public-facing library. When COVID hit, libraries were closed to the public. Overall, I think over the last several decades, libraries themselves have been evolving more to be more of a place that's serving the community beyond just a place where you come to check out books. So one of our partners, the Oakland Public Library, for example, shifted to becoming a meal distribution center and actually served more than 100,000 meals at its various locations of the library around the Bay Area and around Oakland. So they had to change their model. And of course, they've resumed some semblance of past operations today where the doors are open and there's still an ability for people to experience other services of the library. Rethinking sustainability has also been another way that nonprofits have had to adopt. And I'm sure this resonates maybe with some of you, but the pandemic meant that funding activities had to be completely creative. An example of that is an organization called the Lucky Orphans Horse Rescue. I'll call it the Horse Rescue. That's a sanctuary for horses that are rescued from abuse and neglect. They had hosted on their property annually an average of 2,000 to 2,000 guests on its farm, and they relied heavily on income from events. So when COVID hit, you might imagine what a new challenge that was for them. They rolled up their sleeves, they dug into a lot of different resources, including our foundation directory, and they sent very ambitiously 300 letters of intent to potential funders. And they actually found and were able to successfully secure $125,000 in donations, which is approximately 20% of the organization's annual revenue. And so I share that to say behaviors are also changing. So while sending a letter of intent is not a foreign concept to many nonprofits, the volume and the level of aggressiveness, intentionality behind it has also shifted. And so I can imagine that that's probably going to be a common practice for the organization moving forward, to just have a very high threshold of the number of funders they would be pursuing. A third trend is funders continuing to evolve. And with that, what we're talking about here is an acknowledgement that there needs to be a reduced application and reporting burden on nonprofits. I'll give you a couple of stats here. A recent study by the Technology Association of Grantmakers, also known as TAG, surfaces the obvious burden placed on nonprofits with duplicate questions and multiple applications required. They performed a similarity analysis of 133 grant forms and noted that 39% of the fields were similar across all of them. So it's helped to really push the needle on acknowledgement that applications themselves are creating a barrier towards equity. Same thing with reporting requirements. And then a study from the Center for Effective Philanthropy states that 76% of funders are changing reporting requirements to reduce the burden on grantees, and 40% of them are increasing their demographic data collection. I'll talk about demographics very briefly here, but front and center to all of this is an increasing acknowledgement of trust-based philanthropy. And an example of that, and there are more examples of this, is some of the work that Mackenzie Scott has done, where she has donated more than $12 billion to more than 1,250 different groups with no application required. So just removing that burden, placing a level of trust in the nonprofits, giving them the funds that they need to focus their efforts and doing the work versus filling out complex applications and reporting requirements. Last but not least on this is this increase on securing demographic data. This is from some of the work that we've been doing at Candid. It's a 2-year analysis. The left pie chart shows the level of demographic data we had on file on nonprofit CEOs in July of 2020. So the orange is white CEOs, the red is BIPOC CEOs, and gray is unknown. The right pie chart shows the same exact legend, but after 2 years of actually working aggressively. And so it's a July 2020 versus a March 2022 comparison. As you can see, we have more data. So we know that we have more white CEOs and we have a little bit more data on BIPOC CEOs. But what's really alarming about this is there's still a lot of grays. There's still a lot of unknowns, and that means that our work is not yet done. Moving on to strengthen communities. And I think an outcome of everything I've presented so far, even though South Jersey is part of everything I've shared, is the ability for communities to also look in their backyard and not only collaborate, but to also acknowledge what might be uniquely theirs in terms of issues to solve and opportunities to come together around. And so zeroing in on South Jersey by foundation type, I'm going to remove my own view of myself here. So big picture, foundations by type, the number of foundations in South Jersey and the several counties that represent South Jersey from our data show nearly 900 foundations. The level of giving is 265 million in giving. There's some fine print in here. That's why I also mentioned that you'll have a copy of this PowerPoint deck in the WOVA app. But there's some fine print on what all this includes and the level of giving over which period of time. But this is our most recent data set. So 900 foundations, 265 million in giving, and $3 billion in assets, represented all by the South Jersey counties that comprise of the region. Now, a little bit of a view on nonprofits by the numbers. Nonprofits by counties, as you can see here, this is a percentage view where Ocean County, Camden County, and Burlington make up anywhere between 20 to 25% of the number of nonprofits. And you can see the other counties reflected in here as well. And the nonprofits by revenue for South Jersey, this demonstrates pretty normal based on what I described earlier at a more global national level of, the majority of nonprofits being in the lower bracket of revenue. Nonprofits by revenue, about 72% of them are under 50,000. And on the opposite side, only 2% of nonprofits in South Jersey have revenues of more than 5 million. I want to do a little bit of a time check here. So Catalina, if you could text me how much time I might have left. I have one extra slide here to share with you all after this one, and we'll go ahead and wrap up. And in terms of where the money is going, 43% of the funding towards South Jersey is going for general operating support, which is fantastic. There's also about 21% going towards program development. Anywhere here, this is all coming from our data where you see not specified. Those are the areas where we're really looking to get more details from the foundations and from the grant makers. And so in terms of support strategies, it's a pretty good signal that there is a healthy amount of funding going towards general operating support. For subject areas, health is notated as 26% of foundation funding, and then 19% of it is going towards community and economic development in terms of subject areas. And last but not least, this is why it's really important for us to continue to work with not only foundations, but nonprofits to capture who they're serving. A lot of this information is not specified. The data is only as good as the information that's submitted by our partners, which includes a lot of you, but we were able to, through our data, identify 9% of children and youth as the targeted populations for the funding that is in our database. All right, so with a couple of minutes left, I leave this with you, and I know that I've downloaded a lot of information, a lot for us to think about. Two things I'll leave you with. One is we at Candid are actually launching a new initiative called Data 1X. It stands for Data One Time. It seeks to address the power imbalance in our sector, and its goal is to make the adoption of profiles ubiquitous by working with foundations, associations, and others to commit to asking nonprofits to share their data one time in a standardized way, in a centralized place where it's accessible by all interested parties. And we're working with an increasing number of foundations to have them mobilize their applicants and their grantees to adopt the Candid profiles, previously known as the GuideStar profiles, so that can be leveraged as a tool to automatically apply for grants rather than filling out the same questions in different forms through different applications. And so our vision for Data 1X is to relieve the huge unnecessary burden that has been placed on nonprofits and to really help them focus on the work. And then we have a Goal for Gold incentive that I wanted to share with everyone. Recently, Candid launched a Go for Gold initiative where small nonprofits of less than 500,000 in revenue or expenses that earn a 2022 Gold Seal of Transparency, they would be eligible for a year of free access to Foundation Directory Essentials. So this is that directory I spoke about that has 244,000 grant records and serves as a wonderful donor prospecting tool. And by getting a Gold Seal of Transparency, you all would have access to that. And I know that Catalina is going to post that link. Highly encourage you all to get that Seal of Transparency and to reach out to Catalina or myself for any more details. So congratulations to all of us for surviving the last few years, but more importantly for thriving and for just coming out of the last few years with some lessons learned and with a lot of innovation and a lot of great ideas. I'm really honored to be a part of this conversation and look forward to hopefully joining you all in person next time. Thank you.
So thank you, Zora, for that very informative presentation and providing so many resources that we can use to retrieve all the data that was shared, not only on a large scale, but locally here in Southern New Jersey for all of us to use, especially when it comes to fundraising information. So great information, and thank you. Next, I would ask that you please welcome the co-chair of the Nonprofit Development Center of Southern New Jersey, Les Cohen, who's going to present the case for collaboration and its potential impact to improve our nonprofit community.
Good morning, colleagues and other friends of the nonprofit community. I am Les Cohen, the co-chair for NPDC Southern New Jersey, and I have the honor of introducing our initial collection of professional papers. Now, if anyone in this room submitted a paper, could you please rise? Or if your organization, so we know Pro Bono did, we know Rutgers did. Thank you, Gratz. If any of you work for a nonprofit, you deliver service, please stand up. Come on. If any of you are volunteers, board members of nonprofits, supporters, stand up. And anyone who cares about serving our community and appreciates the good work that nonprofits do, stand up and let's give each other a round of applause. This is our first year of soliciting papers from the field for a compendium that you'll have access to online. In your package, you'll find a table of contents, a listing of all of the entries. They are all excellent, informative, and add to the breadth of our professional knowledge. And we thank all of the contributors for participating. Now remember, this is just our first year. We will continue to accept papers throughout the year. So this time next year, we will have another collection to share with you. And there's a link on the NPDC SNJ website so that you can look up these papers and read them at your leisure. We've included 2 samples just for you to review. All in all, we had over 25 papers submitted. That's over 1,000 pages of content. And this is just the beginning. We are a professional field. We do important work. So my friends, keep reading, write, and continue to do the good work that you do, because your community needs you. Thank you.
So, thank you, Les, especially for acknowledging all of the tremendous work that's being done by so many of us in the room and locally in the region. So we have a little bit of an unexpected gift for everybody. We're going to take about a 5-minute break as we wait for our keynote speaker to arrive. She's in the building. She's just making her way up here. So I would ask that everybody maybe grab a cup of coffee, quick refreshment, and be back to your seats in about 5 minutes, and we're going to resume. Thank you.
wanted a company that led the project, that came to it and said, okay, this is your vision. We understand what your vision is, and this is how the vision is going to be executed. And that's exactly what happened with Perlo Productions.
Perlo came back as someone that took the time to understand our unique needs and unique challenges as a business and really crafted a plan with us hand in hand.
When I approached Mike, I pretty much had my own ideas of what I thought would work, and he was incredibly receptive to listening to those, but had the expertise needed to guide me because he's been doing these videos for a long time and they do work and connect. I mean, I responded to them when I watched them on his website.
wanted a company that led the project, that came to it and said, okay, this is your vision. We understand what your vision is, and this is how the vision is going to be executed. And that's exactly what happened with Perlo Productions.
Perlo came back as someone that took the time to understand our unique needs and unique challenges as a business and really crafted a plan with us hand in hand.
When I approached Mike, I pretty much had my own ideas of what I thought would work, and he was incredibly receptive to listening to those, but had the expertise needed to guide me because he's been doing these videos for a long time and they do work and connect. I mean, I responded to them when I watched them on his website.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome back. I appreciate everybody coming back and looking forward to hearing from our keynote speaker. So I'm very excited to introduce and have you meet our keynote speaker, Demi Lee Thibault. Demi is a South African model, a businesswoman, a social influencer, and a philanthropist who was crowned Miss South Africa and Miss Universe in 2017. After surviving a horrific attempted hijacking in South Africa, Demi started the Unbreakable campaign during her Miss South Africa reign. The campaign aims to educate, uplift, and empower women all over the world. Because she is passionate about helping, every woman has come to know her purpose and value. Demi, alongside her husband, has joined the fight against human trafficking. Demi is the big sister of Franje Peters, who was born with cerebral agenesis. Sadly, Franje passed away on May 4th, 2019. Through her unique relationship with her sister, Demi has found a strong passion for supporting people with special needs, which has allowed her to keep her sister's legacy and memory alive. Today, she resides in the United States with her husband, Tim, working to use her passion for business development along with her influencer platform to create ventures that support all women through the Thibault Foundation. Demi's husband, Tim, played 3 seasons in the National Football League as a quarterback for the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets. He played college football at the University of Florida, where he became the first sophomore to win the Heisman Trophy and led his team to 2 BCS national championship victories in the 2006 and 2008 seasons. The Thibault's charitable outreach includes nonprofit organizations in 4 South Jersey communities: Turnersville, Swedesboro, Burlington, and Egg Harbor. Please give a big round of applause and welcome our keynote speaker, Miss Universe 2017, Demi Lee Thibault.
Good morning, everyone. Everyone had their coffee. I've heard you guys got up early and had got going pretty good. So I'm so happy to be here. You'll look bright and awake and very focused. I like it. That's the part where you're supposed to laugh. So yes. All right, come on. I don't bite. First of all, I asked my incredible chaperone over here, my new best friend, I'm going to steal her. Just by the way, I said, how do we refer to this event? And she said, because I said it's a pretty long name, she said, you can just say MPDCSNJ. Do you want to add ABCDEFG in there too, guys? I am so honored to be here today and just love what the summit is doing by bringing us together, seeing you guys just around tables, connecting with one another, even though you all might be in various fields, serving in various different fields. I think it's important to know that really we all are here because in the macro level, we share a same goal. And that goal is to make this place that we live in a better place for as many people and as many lives as possible. You see, I genuinely believe that there is power when we come together. And actually, that is the Tim Tebow Foundation's third non-negotiable. My husband came up with a list of non-negotiables, and one of those non-negotiables is that there is power when we come together. You see, when Tim and I play tennis doubles, there certainly is power, like physical power, when we come together. Because let me tell you, me by myself on a tennis court is not necessarily the strongest force, but when my husband and I can join forces and can get a tennis match together, there's a little bit of strength in there. I've heard a quote where they say, if you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together. However, when I play tennis by myself, I don't really go far or fast, so I really do need my husband's help in that sense. But you see, us at the Tim Tebow Foundation, we so strongly believe in strategic partnerships and that there's power when we come together. And there's an illustration that I love to use. I don't know if any of you guys are into history, but in ancient Greek, the Greeks used a formation in battle called the phalanx. And this battle is basically a formation is basically a rectangular formation where they all stand pretty close to one another. Their shields in their one hand, their sword in their another hand, and their shields don't just protect themselves, but also their brothers. Their shields are kind of interlocking, and if you Google a picture, you'll see exactly what I mean, but the strong formation where they don't just protect themselves, but also their brothers, and they get to move forward as a unit, and that unit was so strong and no one was able to defeat them for centuries. I mean, isn't that just a beautiful illustration? Literally for centuries. But you know what? The sad thing was, eventually they got defeated by the Romans when they failed to protect their flank, when they failed to protect their brother. And also the second thing that made them fail was when they failed to adapt, because the Romans figured out their strategy and they're like, hey, they aren't seeing us coming from the side, so we got to tackle their weakness. And I think that's just such a beautiful illustration of, there's power, but when we come together, it's good. We need to stand together. We need to walk forward as a unit, because really we all are sharing the same goals, the same outcomes. Even if in the micro, that might look a little bit different. In the long run, in the bigger picture, all of us are here today because we have a same goal in mind. You see, when we fail to unite and we fail to come together and move together as a unit, a whole unit of South New Jersey, I've heard that there's over 10,000 nonprofits in just this area. I think that deserves a round of applause. But you see, I think when we fail to come together, we miss out on so much. We miss out on being able to have deeper impact, on deeper reach, and we miss out on shared resources. The Tim Tebow Foundation has many ministries, about 16 main focuses that we focus on, and that might sound very vague. And I remember when my husband always tells the story when they started the foundation, people were like, "Oh gosh, that's so you're kind of everywhere," and he's like, "Yeah." Because there's hurting people everywhere, not just in one specific sphere. So that's our goal. Our goal is to love people in any way and every way that we can. And one of those ways that we love people is by a worldwide prom that is called Night to Shine. And like we just mentioned earlier, there are, I believe, 4 Night to Shine proms in this region, which we are so thankful for. South New Jersey has been played such an integral part in hosting Night to Shine. And what Night to Shine is, it is a worldwide prom for people with special needs. It is our favorite night of the year. It is literally hosted in over 750 locations worldwide, in nearly 40 countries currently, which we're so excited about. But you know what? When the Tim Tebow Foundation started Night to Shine, they had no idea what this could grow to. It started with, I think, like maybe 5 states, a handful of churches, and it's grown so much, which is awesome. But something that they didn't realize, I have to mention this. One of the things that's really important with specifically the Night to Shine ministry is that we partner very strategically with churches all over the world. And one thing that we did not realize in the time was that this would serve as an opportunity for so many other opportunities. You see, just a couple of weeks ago, one of our prom churches, the churches that host a prom in Ukraine, was able to connect us with people that connected us so that we are able to save babies out of Ukraine, so that we are able to help people with special needs get to safety. And that started with a prom, and now we're on a rescue mission. I mean, you have no idea. You have no idea what that connection could eventually lead to. And once again, so grateful that we're in one room, that we get to connect, that we get to share, that we get to deepen that impact together, but we still have to be willing. You see, I think it goes the same when you don't ask a question, you won't ever know the answer. But if you don't take hands, if you don't move forward together, you will never know the unlimited impact that you can have as a unit. Once again, when Tim and I play tennis, when he wins, I win. When I win, I win. Just kidding. That's not how it works. But you know what's so fun is when he does hit that good shot, I get to celebrate with him. And the odd time that I get to get that ball over the net, he gets to celebrate with me as well. And that celebration is contagious. I don't know if you have ever noticed that, but when you get to cheer someone else on, and when someone else gets to cheer you on, and you get to celebrate together, that energy is super contagious. Anyone ever noticed that? I mean, I feel like that just... Okay, actually, I have disclosure. We've actually now moved to pickleball. It's the fastest growing sport apparently in the world. Confession. But with pickleball, it works a little different than tennis. And so when I see the nod there. We have a pickleball player here. Okay. With pickleball, it works a little bit differently. So you can really only win points on your serve. I guess it's kind of similar in tennis, but you can really only win points on your serve. And so you kind of get on a roll, and when you win that 1 point, you celebrate, and it's kind of contagious. You get on a roll, and when you're on that roll, you better get going, because if you stop winning. So that's been fun, but it's been so fun to get to celebrate together, and I've just felt like, wow, that is just truly so contagious. But unfortunately, you know what? There's some people in this world that's not celebrating with us, and that don't get to celebrate with us. At least yet. You see, Mimi, who's based in the jungles of Uganda, she wasn't celebrating when she was chased down by a cannibal. Ellie and her whole family, all her sisters and brothers, well, not family, but at least all her siblings, all her cousins, all her nieces, they weren't celebrating when they were being sold by their own mother and their own aunt into the evils of something that we call OSEC, or some might know it as CSAM, online sexual exploitation of children. The mom whose husband gave her just enough money to go and take a ride and go and poison their little boy with special needs because he was bringing shame onto their family. That mother was not celebrating. The babies in South Africa that get abandoned, that get found in dumpsters, trash cans, sewage drains, disposable toilets, those babies don't celebrate. But you know what? Thankfully, there's a thing called hope. And hope comes in many forms, many different forms. You see, hope comes in the form of safe homes. Hope comes in the form of food, shelter. Hope comes in the form of just one person caring enough to notice and to act. Hope comes in the forms of all these faces that I get to see right now in all of the organizations in South New Jersey that are here today. This is hope. And you see, for Mimi, it didn't take $1 billion to make an impact in her life. It actually didn't take much. It took one person that cared enough to notice and to offer help. And you see, a couple weeks ago, I got to meet Hope in person. I got to meet Mimi in person in Uganda. And let me tell you, Mimi was able to escape that horrible situation by being sold and chased down by a cannibal all through the night in a banana plantation. Miraculously, she was able to escape, and she was able to find a safe place to go to. And Mimi is not just a survivor today, but she is an absolute thriver. And she is a warrior, because she's not just a survivor on that safe campus that she's being able to live on, but she's a leader on that safe campus. She just graduated school on Friday. And you see, she's working towards starting her own business as a hairstylist. How incredible is that? Because one person cared enough to notice and cared enough to act. Ellie, she is celebrating today. Ellie is thankfully safe alongside all her siblings and all her cousins. And Ellie is celebrating. See, the mom that was sent out to go and poison her son, on her way, she miraculously stumbled into an organization that provides care for people with special needs. And she found hope, and she is celebrating. You know, the babies in South Africa that got abandoned, some of them didn't make it. Yes, that's true. But a lot of them did. And today, they're in a house called the Promised House. A house full of love, care, resources, getting reunited with either family or finding their forever families. And they do have the opportunity to celebrate today. But it's hard, right? You guys work in the nonprofit field. You know that it's hard. It's hard to face parents that sold their own child. It's hard to face situations like cannibals chasing down women. And I know these are very extreme circumstances that I'm mentioning today. The work that we do is hard. And that's where resilience comes in. You see, resilience doesn't mean that it's not going to be tough. Resilience doesn't mean that there's not going to be hard times. In fact, we are guaranteed that we will be faced with trials and tribulation. It's a given. But resilience means carrying on, getting up, picking yourself back up, and keep moving forward despite of the trials and despite of the tribulations. And most of you guys aren't here today because you're standing on the sidelines. Thankfully not. I know that. That's not the reason that you guys are here today. And I want to thank you for not being a bystander, for doing the work that you are doing to make a meaningful difference in your community, your city, and eventually our world. But I want to tell you guys of a story where I witnessed people being bystanders firsthand. You see, I was on top of the world. I had just been crowned Miss South Africa 2017, and I was given this beautiful, cute little new car that I was driving down this big avenue, 5:30, broad daylight, peak hour traffic, running a little late, fixing my makeup in the mirror while I was stopping at the red traffic light. And this was, I mean, literally, this is in Johannesburg, in South Africa, where I'm from. I know I have a messed up accent. I've been here too long now. So lived in New York for 2 years. Now I'm in Jacksonville, South Africa. I mean, it's just all over the place, really. So if you can't understand me, I'm sorry. Tim always said he thought that he'd marry a Southern girl. He just didn't know it was like all the way a different South. But here I am. I was fixing my makeup, and the next moment, I had 5 men surrounding my vehicle. And I tried to ignore it, and the one guy knocked on the window, and I was like, nope, not today. Today's not the day. I'm not getting carjacked. Nope. But I was. Next moment, I had guns pointing to my head, surrendered my vehicle, all my personal belongings. They're materialistic. They're replaceable. My life is not. I got out of that car. I tried running away, but I couldn't. Because the guy on my side of the vehicle, and side note, in South Africa, we sit on the opposite side of the vehicle. We drive on the opposite side of the road. The guy on my side of the vehicle grabbed me, pushed me back into my vehicle, and said, "Get in, you are going with us." And at that moment, I realized that I had very few, but a few options. I could do nothing. I could fight. I tried to flee. That didn't work out. So really, my 2 options was to do nothing or to fight. And if you know me, you'd know that I picked fight. I grabbed the steering wheel and I punched that guy as hard as I could in his throat. Something that I learned on a safety driving course that my dad forced me to go on before I was able to drive. Thank you, Dad. You know, as a teenager, some of you might have some teenagers. You're like, oh, Mom, Dad, is that really necessary? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I was able to get out of that vehicle and to run up. It's a big avenue. I mean, kind of like a 6th Avenue, 4 lanes going each way, like broad daylight, peak hour traffic. So all you got to understand, in South Africa, there's so many people, vendors, people selling things on the side of the road, especially around, peak hour traffic time. Thankfully, I got out of that vehicle and I ran away. And everything that I just explained to you might sound like it was the most dramatic part of the whole story, but it really wasn't. You know what was the most dramatic part of this whole ordeal? Was running up that avenue in 6-inch high heels, by the way. Like I said, I was on my way to an event, so I was all dressed up. No one would stop for me. Not one single vehicle. I mean, I was knocking on 30, 40, I would even be as bold to say 50 car windows. Guys, peak hour traffic, bumper to bumper traffic. People had their windows open. They could hear what I was saying. I will never forget the face of this one woman. Her window was open. I said, I was carjacked. Please, can you help me? And she shoved me away, said, get away from me, get away from me. That was traumatic. No one being willing to offer a lending hand, a helping hand. I kept running, looking over my shoulder, not knowing if I'm going to be shot, if I'm being chased by someone else, if they have another part of their group down the street that's waiting for. I had no idea. I just knew that this was bad and I needed to get to a safe place. I didn't even know where the nearest gas station was or what my plan was. I just remember running. And I probably got to the 2nd or the 3rd traffic light from there. And eventually, this old little car shoved across all the streets, nearly causing a big accident. Thankfully, it was peak hour traffic, so cars weren't going too fast. And this young girl, she was 19 years at the time, with her old little car. In South Africa, we'll call an old little car like that a skedonk. So just imagine, a skedonk. She pulled over and she opened her window and she said, "Are you okay?" I said, "No, I was just carjacked. Please, can you help me?" And she leaned over. Remember, opposite side of the car, opposite side of the street. She leaned over, and the car was so old, you had like the little car knob that you had to like open up, and she opened it for me, and she opened her door, and I got in the car, and we drove off, and she was able to get me to a safe place. I don't even want to think about what could have or should have happened if it wasn't for her. I don't want to speculate. but I just know that those guys' intentions were not good. And you see, one of the greatest trials in my life turned into my greatest testimony. And for that, I am thankful, because this incident served as a catalyst for me learning about a situation in our world that I did not even know existed. It led me to learning that there are an estimated 40.3 million people around the world that is trapped in some form of human trafficking. And you know what? The work that we do is hard, but it's even harder, at least to me personally, to turn a blind eye. And you see, this girl didn't have much. She only had where she was with what she got, but she decided she was willing. She was willing to do something. You see, it didn't take her $1 billion. It didn't take her starting a nonprofit. It didn't take her being extremely resourceful. It just took her to be willing. And so I want to encourage you guys that if there's any of you that I know is watching online as well, that's questioning the impact that you might be able to have, the importance of the work that you get to do, if you can impact even just one life, gosh, wouldn't that be a success? Thank you guys so much for having me.
That's a hard act to follow. Demi, those stories you shared, they're just unbelievable, heroic. Talking about all the good in the world and the bad in the world certainly makes you be thankful for where we live right now. Definitely uplifting and cause for celebration, so thank you. And thank you for all the great work that you're doing to make the world a better place. You're absolutely an inspiration, so thank you. So I know that we just recently took a 5-minute break. We're going to take another quick 5-minute break. It's going to be our final break of the day. But before we do, I want to invite you to stop by and meet John Salvatore. John is from Pop 99 FM, The Power of Positivity. John, are you in the room? Where are you at? John is at the back table. Pop is a longtime friend and partner of the Nonprofit Development Center of Southern New Jersey. And if you haven't heard of them, they use their platform to discuss and share all the wonderful work and positive stories that surround us daily, but doesn't always get the spotlight that it deserves. So while you're doing your break, grabbing another cup of coffee, take a moment and meet John and learn more about Pop 99 FM. So I'm going to ask that you be back in 5 minutes so we can get to our next 2 panel discussions before we do wrap up the summit and continue with further networking socialization. So thank you. Be back in 5 minutes.
company that led the project, that came to it and said, okay, this is your vision. We understand what your vision is, and this is how the vision is going to be executed. And that's exactly what happened with Perlo Productions.
Perlo came back as someone that took the time to understand our unique needs and unique challenges as a business and really crafted a plan with us hand in hand.
When I approached Mike, I pretty much had my own ideas of what I thought would work, and he was incredibly receptive to listening to those, but had the expertise needed to guide me because he's been doing these videos for a long time and they do work and connect. I mean, I responded to them when I watched him on his website.
Are you Lois?
It's me. Nice to meet you.
How you doing? Eric Estrada.
Eric,
Nice to meet you.
Eric Estrada?
The one and only.
No.
The one and only.
That's so cool.
We did a series of events. I mean, I get a little bit of everything, but we did a series of community events, one in every county in South Jersey. This was like, not a week, but right when I just started the job. I got over 300 people to show up, and I bet you they all were disappointed when they got there.
That is so cool, though.
That's fun.
So if everybody could take their seat, we're going to get started in 1 minute. So welcome back, everybody, and thank you for coming back. We're going to head into our next panel. Our next panel is going to talk about philanthropy best practices, and it will be monitored by Lois Greco. Lois is the Grants and Programs Officer at the Raskob Foundation. She will be joined by Eric Estrada, Ponch, not the one from Chips. I'm sure he hears that a million times. She'll be joined by Eric Estrada from the Community Foundation of South Jersey, Rochelle Todd Yama, did I say that right? Yamoa, sorry, of the Pascal Sykes Foundation, and Yvonne Sanchez of Thrive AC, and Kyle Ruffin of Impact Found 100. I think we're one person short. Kyle's missing. Okay. So please welcome Lois and our panelists.
Good morning, and thank you for staying. We're really excited to be here today. I am Lois Greco. My day job is as the Grants and Program Officer with the Raskob Foundation for Catholic Activities. But I'm a proud resident of South Jersey and have been here for almost 30 years. Really excited to be working with communities and engaging community residents in bettering their neighborhoods. During that period of time, proud board member of the Community Foundation of South Jersey, and I engage frequently with the Council of New Jersey Grantmakers, who you'll be hearing from later on. So really excited to be here with my brothers and sisters in the region. Joining me today, we do have one person missing, and so I want to acknowledge that. Evan Sanchez, who was to be here, has a family matter that he really needed to attend to, and so we really appreciate Evan. He shared his notes, so we're pitch hitting for Evan in this event. And so we're here today in this panel to talk about some of the innovative themes trending in community-based philanthropy that have gained traction in this region during the last few years, or some are new. And these themes include focusing on place, being either the region or the town, trusting and empowering the voices on the ground and letting them lead, and then seeking long-term sustainable impact. So I've asked each of the members that have been introduced already in name to share a little bit about themselves and their foundations that they're working with, but also to highlight one of their innovative best practices during that. So why don't we start? We'll start to my right with Kyle. If you can share with us, if you even from there.
My pleasure. My name's Kyle Ruffin, and I am one of the founding members of Impact 100 South Jersey. We are a women's collective giving initiative. We're a fund at the Community Foundation of South Jersey. Our goal is to recruit at least 100 women. Each woman gives $1,000, and then we run through a grant application cycle with local nonprofits, and we give away at least one $100,000 grant. So we do that every year. And we launched in 2017. We will give away our $826,000 in June this year. So $826,000. So, and I am really proud to say that in this room are several Impact 100 members. Would you guys like to stand up? So these are your friends and neighbors who help us $1,000 at a time, make a difference in Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, and Cumberland counties.
How's that? To my left.
All right, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Eric Estrada. I'm with the Community Foundation of South Jersey. I'm the community manager there. And the Community Foundation was started by a small group of committed residents a little bit over 10 years ago, just recognizing both the opportunity and the need that existed in South Jersey. And so with support from the Council of New Jersey Grantmakers, a number of some folks in the room today, and partners that have moved on to other things as well, the Community Foundation was established to say, okay, place matters, South Jersey matters, and that there are assets and resources in South Jersey that can do some amazing things. So in short, we serve everything from Burlington to Ocean County, all the way down to Cumberland County and Cape May County, from the river to the shore and everything in between. And so it's a challenge, I think, we recognize just how diverse and unique what is it, over 206 municipalities that make up South Jersey, and those 8 counties are. But that's really what our goal is, both to focus in and double down on place, and to be able to just increase and advance philanthropic efforts throughout the southern part of the state. I'd say that the innovation that we're particularly excited about is using the tool of community endowments, just one of the many philanthropic tools available, where we're working with residents in a specific place, organizing, understanding needs, understanding opportunities, investing in the leadership so that each community can have their own community fund that they are advising on, that they are saying, these are the opportunities, these are the challenges, the needs, and these are the solutions that we know will work in our place. And because they're endowed, every year they're not raised, it is a challenge, I'm sure I'm speaking to the choir, to raise the dollars to do what you need to do to meet the needs you need to meet. But because they're endowed, these are funds and assets and resources that will exist in the communities forever, into perpetuity. So every year they're able to take some of those assets and say, here's the opportunity, here's where we want to put some of our resources, and they get to decide where that's done. And just at the Community Foundation, to be able to be a partner in that, it's just a great feeling and a great privilege. So I'll stop there.
Fabulous. And Michelle.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Lois. I just also want to take the time to thank the committee and for inviting me and the Pascal Sykes Foundation to be a part of this panel. I am, again, I'm the Vice President of Programs and Operations with the Pascal Sykes Foundation. The foundation was started over 30 years ago by Frances P. Sykes and her husband, Skip Sykes. They are based in Central Jersey, out of Red Bank. And over 30 years ago, they decided also to focus on place-based funding and have, for over 11 years, funded many programs here in the South Jersey region with a focus on Cumberland County, Salem County, and Atlantic County. And we also have a little bit of funding in Gloucester County. And the approach that the Sykeses took is, again, more of a systems change approach. So we have currently 3 pillars that we fund. And the first area is social services. So we provide funding to many nonprofit organizations in South Jersey, providing social services support around the whole family approach. Our second pillar is economic development. And we work with a Trenton-based CDFI, New Jersey Community Capital. Many of you probably know of them. We partner with them on economic development to provide loans to small businesses. And in the South Jersey region, a program called Thrive South Jersey. And we also, our third pillar is transportation, which seems a little odd for a foundation to support transportation, but through a private-public partnership with New Jersey Transit, and we partner to provide free shuttles for people to get to economic opportunities in 2 in Atlantic County, 1 in Cumberland County in the city of Bridgeton, and the 4th one is in Gloucester County. So I would say the innovative approach that the Pascal Sykes Foundation has been more around systems change. How can we really listen to communities and help them where they say the need is the greatest for them?
Great. I am going to shake it up a little bit because I'm the facilitator, so I get to do that. We heard, and I thought in a very compelling way in the keynote, the power both of community, right, walking the tennis player, right, celebrating together, but also the power of one. And I think for me that translates to residents. Can you share, do you see that power in your work, in either the power of community or the power of one? And do you have any examples in South Jersey that might go for it?
I would love to start and completely going off the top of the head, so I
Yes,
apologize if I'm
Shirley's
putting someone
shaking
on
it
the
up, 'cause I'm allowed to.
but apologize if I put anyone on the spot. But I was reflecting on something yesterday. Over the weekend, I had a chance to listen to the latest episode of the Working Together for Working Families podcast that Rochelle is one of the co-hosts for,
Thank you.
where they were talking about one of their transportation grantees, one of the organizations they partner with, Cross County Connections TMA. I'm not exactly sure what the TMA stands for, but that offers and works and coordinates these free shuttles. And in addition, I think the reason I want to highlight that is it is without a doubt that without the funding of the Pascal Sykes Foundation, the shuttles wouldn't exist. They are there in partnership with another funder that provides the state match and the support from the Pascal Sykes Foundation. But we've also had the opportunity to build relationships with the folks in the communities that they serve. So myself and Andy Frazier and I think others are a part of a local advisory committee on one of the routes that supports Hamilton, one of the communities that we work in, and Lois also works very closely with, where the residents and the neighbors are getting together and saying, this resource is in town. Everybody knows transportation is a major issue in rural areas in South Jersey, but not everyone knows the shuttle's there. So one, they're able to get the word out about the shuttle and get more riders on the bus, but they're also able to talk to residents and say, well, what is the need? What can we do? How can we do this different? So an organization like Pascal Sykes can make the grant, and that in and of itself is a major critical part of the work. But it's all the kind of next steps that came up after it that show, wow, look at what we could do together. And I don't want to steal the thunder from the show, but there was an example of one of the community partners saying, we need you to just pause this bus stop so folks can get off, access something, and then get back on without having to wait for the next shuttle. And they were able to do that. And again, check out it's a plug for the show. Check it out.
Thank you, Eric.
It worked out.
So much, Eric.
Well, if I can speak a little bit about the power of community. I mean, Impact 100 is really about a community of women who we consider ourselves like-minded, but what we all have in common is how much we love South Jersey and how much we want to support the organizations that serve the people who live in the communities that we live in. So we currently this year have 200 members. So that means in June, we will give away $200,000 to local nonprofits. And we do it one member at a time. And the power of community and the power of just bringing our resources together has supported organizations like Family Promise here in Gloucester County, HopeWorks in Camden, Lucy Outreach in Camden, Alice Paul Institute, Big Brothers Big Sisters down in Cumberland County. Like, we've given away grants to organizations that aren't giant household name organizations. Our funding range is right now organizations between $300,000 and $5 million in annual operating budget. So we're trying to hit that sweet spot, but we do it not only with the power of community, but the power of one. And we're all volunteers, and our members come together and they vet the applications of each of the nonprofits. We're told that our application process is pretty vigorous, maybe more so than a lot of organizations that are kind of been around for a long time. But the way we look at it is that none of us wants to go back to the other 199 women and say we made a mistake. So it is, each member really brings to the table something really important, something really unique. So there is the power of one, and there is the power of community. So I just want to, again, thank all the women who are here in the room, and say that if you want to learn more about us, I know I'm probably jumping the gun here, impact100southjersey.org, and you will see kind of the work that we do, all on a volunteer basis and all to support a community that we love.
Well, I'll just chime in and say mostly all of the work that the Pascal Sykes Foundation does is through collaboration. And I think it was mentioned earlier, by Mindy about this collaboration that happens and all of the work that we do through different levels, and specifically in our social service work. We intentionally require that agencies work together in order to get funding from the foundation. We support them working together. So it has to be several agencies coming together with the effort around helping families succeed. Working with families, listening to their goals, meeting them where they are, responding to their needs. And those needs are really, varied through education or families who want to better their financial situation or access housing or learn English as a second language, or people who are have foster families. So we encourage agencies to work together because we know that one agency can't do it alone, and they need the expertise of each other put together to wrap around a particular family. And it's the same with our economic development efforts. Recently, our most recent grant was to the African American Chamber of New Jersey in Philadelphia, partnership with New Jersey Community Capital to provide loans specifically to Black and minority businesses in South Jersey. We recognize that demographic was, some of those small businesses were really falling through the cracks and not accessing some of the funds that are available to other larger businesses in the area. So again, I think one, but partnering with others is just embedded in the concept of what the Pascal Sykes Foundation is about. Collaboration, working together with others, and realizing that we cannot make a change or impact alone. We have to work together. Oh, sorry. I just also wanted to say thank you, Eric, for the plug on the podcast. And Working Together for Working Families is a podcast that we have launched, me together with my colleague Jackie Edwards. Please get it wherever you get your podcasts, and to learn about more of the work that the Pascal Sykes Foundation has been doing.
Thank you. So these are examples of how it's possible to both have impact, but also to have philanthropy accessible to all. Everyone in this room has the capacity to make a difference and to contribute, whether time, talent, treasure, or service. And many of you, if not most of you, do that. And so that is what philanthropy is about. Evan, I'm asking if you could share a little bit of what Evan's been up to. This is not Evan.
Just apologies if I maybe misspeak a little bit about it, but I think Evan's story and the work, ultimately how he came to be introduced to us, the Community Foundation of South Jersey, and what he's doing now is a perfect example of this question of the power of one and the power of community. So in Atlantic City, there was some work with groups like Creative New Jersey, now known as Gathering Ground, support from the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation. Again, a lot of people coming to the table, bringing residents to the table to really get that understanding of the needs and opportunities in that specific place. That ultimately led to the creation of the Atlantic City Community Fund, a fund that's held at the Community Foundation of South Jersey. And through that process and getting engaged and learning about that work, Evan Sanchez was involved, I think, from the beginning, from day one, and had different roles at different places. But getting familiar with the Community Foundation, he realized, okay, one of the other tools that's available to me, a philanthropic tool, is my own, I believe it's a donor-advised fund, but my own fund with the Community Foundation. So he established, him and his partner established the Ren Sanchez Fund. and was able to both continue to support the work in Atlantic City, but then kind of say, okay, I could kind of do not my own thing, but like I could put my own twist on it. And most recently just established and launched an initiative called Thrive AC, where he and the folks involved are trying to take the learning, some of the best practices, new ideas around trust-based philanthropy, and doing something new and different. And it's something that he's able to still continue to support his community, his hometown, but also just really invest in a very defined, hyperlocal, space. And it's just, again, it's just an example of he's doing all this work as a part of a community, but he's also able to advance his own pieces individually.
So we are going to not take questions now because there's no mic to run them back and forth, but I would say we are available for any questions, but we're not just here. We want to be a resource. Community Foundation of South Jersey, Council of New Jersey grant makers, but anybody that wants to think about how do I give, and to either do it with others collectively or to do, come ask. We really want to be a resource to help our region thrive, and are happy to do so.
I just wanted to add to that, Lois. And in the spirit of collaboration, many of you know that the Pascal Sykes Foundation is sunsetting, and we are spending out our assets, and we will be closing our doors officially at the end of this year, December 2022. So our motto this year is "Now it's your turn." So we do hope that you will partner with the Community Foundation of South Jersey, or with Impact 100, or with any of our grantees going forward, and carry on the torch that the Pascal Sykes Foundation has started. It was mentioned earlier that Pascal Sykes Foundation has committed almost over $52 million to this region, and we really would love, thank you. Really want to see a lot of the work that was started continued, and it can continue through a lot of the partnerships with my colleagues who are here now, and with many of our grantees in the South Jersey region. So thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, Lois and panel, for the very informative session. You mentioned questions that people may have. I know you'll be around at the conclusion of our summit for anyone that wants to have a conversation with you and or the panelists, so thank you. Our last panel is going to be moderated by Andy Frazier. Andy is our Executive Director of the Community Foundation of South Jersey, and he will be joined by Linda Zippo. I hope I said that right. No? Zippo. Sorry. It's getting late in the program and my eyes are no good. We should start a foundation for that. Be joined by Linda Zippo of the Center for Nonprofits and Teresa Jacks from the Council of New Jersey Grantmakers. They're going to talk about the future of social sector in South New Jersey. Please join me in welcoming our next panel.
Hello, how you feeling? I am grateful to be joined by Linda Zippo and Teresa Jacks. Linda is with the Center for Nonprofits, Teresa is with the Council of New Jersey Grantmakers, and one of the great ways I feel like I get to serve is to be on the board of directors of both of these tremendous organizations. So I'm so excited that these two statewide places where we at the Community Foundation of South Jersey find community in our nonprofit sector can have them with us here today. So thank you for the travels and thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. So our panel today is to talk about the future of the social sector and then to react to both some of the trends you heard from the presentation from Candid, from what you've heard in the room today, and to give you some ideas to think about how can you apply this when you go home and think about where you build community, community in your own place, as Eric talked about, community in the places where you find relationships, in your networks, and community generally in the sector. So that's what we'll try and accomplish over the course of the next 20 minutes. One of the things that we've spent time and energy with today is this idea of the social sector. And I just want to, as we launch our conversation, compact, if you will, what do we mean by the social sector? So for us, and as we approach the work this morning, the social sector are the charitable organizations on the front lines, day in and day out, serving a mission that builds families or that builds resilient communities. But it's also the integration with philanthropy and this idea of how do we as grant makers and investors in our communities work more collaboratively together. And so you're going to hear some dialogue as we get into this around trust-based ideas and bridging and spanning so that we in philanthropy are in relationship with you in the charitable sector. We are not just grant makers. At the Community Foundation of South Jersey, we have a limited discretionary grant making pool. And so we're looking for ways to, as I said in my opening remarks, bring assets that are our resources into relationship with you. So just some context for how we think about the social sector. I'd throw the first question to both the panelists. And we've heard a lot of trends and ideas that came up in some of the candid discussion this morning about the trends impacting the social sector. What do you think are the most important takeaways as we think about the balance of the decade in 2030 and going forward? And we'll start with Linda.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thanks to everybody who's online, and thanks to the Nonprofit Development Center of Southern New Jersey for convening this amazing summit. One of the beauties and challenges of going last is we get to say yes and you don't want to have to repeat what's been said before. I guess a couple of things that I would lift up. One is something that we're going to delve into a little bit more, and that's whole idea about the mindset with which we approach the work. You've heard a lot about the power of one, the power of community, and the power with which we all approach this work. And that's something that we have to bring to the conversation with our partners, our donors, philanthropy, our boards and whatnot, and in public policy. We haven't had a lot of conversation today about that, but if we're talking about systems change and how do we make South Jersey and New Jersey, in fact, a nonprofit-friendly region and state, we have to change the environment that we're operating in. So it's not just about doing the vital work that we're doing, but it's also changing the circumstances so that it's easier to do the work and so that we're solving the problems and not only dealing with the symptoms on the ground. So that's one piece. And the other, of course, COVID has in fact changed everything. So how it's amplified and shown a bright light on deep-seated disparities and inequities, but also the labor force is changing. There's a whole lot more we could unpack, but I think I'll stop there.
And I would add to that partnerships, and we've heard that throughout this conversation, just the importance of partnerships in all you do. The Center for Nonprofits and the Council of New Jersey Grant Makers partner on a lot of initiatives and have for many years, but we didn't always do that. So coming together to do that work has been, I think, an important evolution of how we do our work. And we're going to get to one of the partnerships, one of the initiatives that we're working on right now, calling, and Mindy kind of queued us up, Doing Good Better, which is a partnership to think about how nonprofits and philanthropy in New Jersey and in South Jersey can work together better. And what are the considerations, what are the things we need to do to make these relationships better, to work better together?
Great. Linda, you talked about engagement and advocacy and how important that work is. Obviously, you're both advocacy and engagement organizations. Can you pull out some of the strategies, if you will, as you think about engagement and how the not-for-profit sector can and should be participating in that advocacy work?
Sure, and advocacy takes a lot of different forms. It's not strictly about public policy. You advocate every day in the work that you're doing by lifting up the needs of your organizations and your constituents. But through a public policy lens, it's making sure that your elected officials, your government officials know who you are, who you're serving, what the needs are. And this is all, again, we've heard this theme time and time again, community-led, making sure that this is reflecting what the community needs and wants and what is required to succeed. A lot of people don't know that nonprofits in New Jersey employ almost 10% of the private sector workforce. That's more than many major industries, and a lot of policymakers don't know that. So when we're talking about a good, thriving region or New Jersey or society, we need to talk about a good, thriving nonprofit community so that those services can be provided. So, we've also heard, relationships and collaboration. It's all about building relationships. So if you aren't acquainted with your elected officials or your government officials in your community, and if you don't know who your state legislators are or up to Congress and beyond, that's a perfect opportunity because you have you bring incredible power and wisdom to this equation, and making sure that they understand that and that they're calling and looking to you for the expertise that you can provide, so that we're really talking about comprehensive solutions to the challenges that we face.
And I'd just like to pull a couple things out of that. So independent sector talks about normalizing advocacy behavior. So making that a part of what you do day in and day out. And Linda also talked about how when you reach out to your representatives, whether local, state, federal, and even to your funders, think about how you position yourself as the expert. In every organization, nonprofit organization, you're the expert in whatever the issue is, in what you're focused on. So think about how you position yourself as a resource for legislators, for your funders. That's an important part of advocating for yourself, of advocating for your organization, of advocating for your issue, of advocating for your community. So, that's a very powerful piece of the conversation that sometimes as nonprofits, we forget, and it's important that we stand up and remember that.
Great. That makes me think this idea of that's an adaptation that you're seeing. Are there other, Linda, adaptations that you're seeing across the sector, be it philanthropy, or obviously working on behalf of your members, or specifically with your members that are adapting in sort of these uncertain times that you want to lift up?
You've heard a lot about that throughout the morning. That's what nonprofits do. Nonprofits are creative. Nonprofits pivot, to use the overused word. Nonprofits are resilient. But I think one of the things that the last couple of years has taught us, and hopefully a lesson that we will not lose on the philanthropic side or the nonprofit side, is that the old way of doing things from a scarcity mindset is not sustainable. If we keep going to our partners in philanthropy or to communities or to our elected officials with this whole idea of this badge of honor that we don't spend X amount on overhead, or we don't, the deprivation is not a badge of honor. It's just an unnecessary challenge to doing the work. So if you are one of those who has kind of used that as part of your conversation, you need to move beyond that. We need to talk about here's what we're doing in our communities. Communities need this work. Communities are lifting us up, and to succeed and to thrive, here's what we need. That honest conversation is absolutely critically important, and certainly that's part of what the Doing Good Better initiative is also focusing on. Because if nonprofits are not getting general operating support, or they're being underfunded for overhead and whatnot, that's not a recipe for success. It's a recipe for continued challenges and continued hurdles, and we have to move beyond that.
So I just want to add, what I heard you say, Linda, is overhead is not a good indicator of performance. So in order to do your work, you need technology. You need computers. Your desks can't be sitting in the parking lot. So these are important pieces of your work. And, thinking about some of the things that have changed. The Council on Foundations, early on during the pandemic, they asked funders to sign on to a pledge. And some of the things in that pledge were that during the time of COVID, they would unburden their nonprofit partners as much as possible. They would provide multi-year general operating support. They would loosen the restrictions on existing grants. So go and read that. It's good for you to know that about 800 foundations throughout the United States signed on to that, so you can share that with your funders. But the thing is, when funders did that, nothing fell apart. You know, they trusted their nonprofit partners to do their work, the work that they needed to do to get through the pandemic. But what we're seeing and what we're concerned with is that some funders may be going back and relying on traditional practices again. And some of what we want to do is create a trust-based community of practitioners for nonprofit partners and funders that elevates the conversation and the power dynamics and the relationship between funder and nonprofits, so we don't go back to some of those traditional restrictive grant-making practices. Just a quick, simple example. So we're a nonprofit, the Council of New Jersey Grantmakers is a nonprofit too. And we have a funder who has been supportive for a while that we've been working with. And this year, our funder changed the way they did some of their work. They said, Teresa, we don't need a written report from you. Let's have a conversation and tell us what you did with the funding and how you've moved forward your work. So we had a conversation instead of having to write a report. And that's a basic, simple way of rethinking traditional grant-making practices that we're on the cusp of doing now, and we need to think about how we can make those practices the norm.
And just to piggyback on that, that starts with the conversation, having that conversation on an equal footing. And just to give another example, a few years back, one of our long-term funders, we were filling out, completing our application and lots of attachments and lots of things. And as you know, and it was talked about before, a lot of what we do in nonprofits is we have to kind of tweak and recreate the same kinds of information over and over and over again. And gee, wouldn't it be nice to simplify this stuff? The stuff that we're talking about today is stuff that nonprofits have been requesting for quite some time. And, isn't it wonderful that more of our friends in philanthropy are listening to this? But in our case, there was a conversation that we had. I asked a question about, could I submit something such and such this way? Or it kind of got the ball rolling on more of what we needed, and it turned out, it ended up in our getting a multi-year grant, where their first ever that funder had been putting in. So a lot more to unpack there. The only other thing I will say is Center for Nonprofits does an annual survey of the New Jersey nonprofit community. Some of you may have filled that out. If so, thank you. We'll be unveiling the results of that on May 3rd. But we also ask questions about what are your practices, what are you experiencing with philanthropy? We talked about some of the trends and the practices that have been putting out, and we asked nonprofits, how many of your funders are doing this? Are most of your funders doing these things, or maybe some, or not at all? And it just underscores, let me just put it this way, that there is a lot more that we can do and build on.
Great. So one of the things that also, as we think about this scarcity versus abundance mindset that flags for me is, many of you in the room are in the business of asset and fundraising and resource development, right? And there is inherently, when folks come knocking on my door and want to talk about a grant, talk about the competition that exists of if they get the resource, somebody else won't, or we got to hit the ROI. That's what my development director expects. And I just want to put it out there for all of you that we are not in competition with each other. I come from the field and the way of thinking about this work, that there is abundance to be had. And Eric talked about it, and Mindy alluded to it. We're trying to improve the region by building the abundance of assets that we have here. And that doesn't mean it's a zero-sum game. It means there are more resources to be discovered and had through the relationships. So as we think about how we overcome this scarcity mindset, I also want to flag this idea of how do we overcome the scarcity mindset when it comes to our own budgets. Because at the end of the day, we're in this to either serve communities or to serve people. And that doesn't mean competition with each other necessarily, always and forever. It's great. That's my just little contribution to how I think about scarcity and abundance. I want to flag the idea then of going forward, how do we help the not-for-profit sector better connect? Obviously, the point of today is building relationships, building networks. How do we connect with each other in our own local communities? How do we connect with each other regionally? Our work at the Community Foundation sort of jumps behind, or I shouldn't say jumps, organizes behind the mantra of live, give, love South Jersey, right? And so this idea of regionally we're in relationship. How are different ways that we can do a better job of connecting as the not-for-profit sector? You both run connective tissue organizations, so if you could play out some of that for me, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, I'll start. I mean, you laid it out so well. I mean, there's such an important and powerful network already in existence here in the region, in communities, through forums like this, through the Nonprofit Development Center, and, in terms of the Center for Nonprofits, we're kind of a bridge, and we help to foster those connections on a statewide level and among organizations of different missions. So perhaps if you're in community development and you aren't necessarily as connected with the arts community, all of those relationships are so enriching, and we can help build those kinds of connections. And the Center for Nonprofits does, events and convenings and workshops and whatnot as well. We certainly encourage you to take advantage of them. But that's part, that's what all of this is about. That's what we've been talking about all morning, how powerful and important relationships are, and just taking that time to avail yourself of the resources that the folks in this room have to offer, the folks that who are have exhibit tables and whatnot. And so it's take that time to just kind of step back and take a look at what's being offered and avail yourself of it, because that's how we become more powerful, by working together and finding those common connections.
And also think about the networks that you should be a part of. So I have this story that I've told Linda over the years. When I worked for a small nonprofit many years ago, we were members of the Center for Nonprofits, and we just became members, so I had just discovered the center. And one of the things they were working on our behalf, on behalf of nonprofits in New Jersey, was to quell proposed legislation that board members and their spouses had to disclose their campaign.
It's called pay to play, which for nonprofits, for 501c3s, isn't even legal for C3s to make those contributions. But basically, it would have added another layer of disclosure unnecessarily for board members.
But I didn't have time to concentrate on that. So it was great for me to learn that there was a network that was working on behalf of nonprofits in New Jersey to focus on that. And when I left that organization, I said to the new executive director that took over, no matter what you do, because we were a small organization, no matter what you do, find the funding, it's not a lot, to be a member of the Council of the Center for Nonprofits, because they have our back and they're looking out for us. And I tell Linda that story all the time. But the whole point is be involved in the network. Be involved in others that are working on your behalf, that are working with you. The other piece of that I think it's important to be involved with, and to think about your funders as your champions. So your funders, they fund you, they're supporting your work, but they're doing that because they're your champions. So keep in contact with them. Reach out to them regularly, invite them to your events, send them information. And your former funders, the ones that maybe you've lost touch with, reach out to them too, because they were your champions and they want to be your champions again. So it's important to engage with them.
And I just want to come in with a shout out and plug for the Council of New Jersey Grant Makers, which if you are involved with philanthropy at all, you definitely want to be a part of them. And they are having a statewide colloquium virtually on May 26th.
May 26th. Craig, will you remind us about it?
We'll want to be part of that for sure. So.
It's on the Hoover app. Go take a look at it.
Yay!
Yeah, but it's the colloquium is on May 26th. It's a public event. It's for nonprofits and funders together in one room. It's a virtual event, and we're going to talk about this this doing good better concept. How we can rethink how we work together, how we can rethink our relationships so we can do the work better for our communities.
Great. Any last parting ideas in terms of planning for 2030, key concepts that we've missed that you feel like really need to be drawn out, summarizing today?
It's hard to pick just one, but I think What I would say is going back to the get away from the scarcity mindset. One of the things we didn't really talk about was, for example, the changing nature of work and the labor shortage. Our survey respondents said they have vacancy rates of 20%, and that's not sustainable. And we need, as a sector, to think a lot more deliberately about how we approach compensation and how we approach our workforce, and making sure that not only are they doing fabulous work as they always do, but that they are actually compensated fairly for doing that, so they can continue to stay in this sector and make nonprofits a full career. And I guess I'll leave it with that.
Okay,
and bravo for that. I 100% agree. And the other thing I would add, which we've talked about, but think about how partnerships and relationships, how you operationalize those. That should be a core part of what we do day in and day out. Those partnerships and relationships, they're very important. Our speaker was talking about the events that catalyze you, working with partners, working with other nonprofits. That's how we get the work done. So I would offer that.
I just make a connection because it's really intentional. As I mentioned, I serve on both boards of these organizations, and one of the things that we hear a lot about around both board tables is the fact that nationally, this collaboration between the charitable nonprofit organizations and philanthropy sitting around a shared table and talking about these issues doesn't happen. But it happens in New Jersey, and I think we ought to celebrate that in terms of how we collaborate. And I will say, as organizations, we are operationalizing that.
Yeah.
Both strategic plans for both organizations at this point talk about how do we build stronger relationships together and how do we cement this. So it's not just that the staff have good relationships, it's not that they share some board members, it's literally in the DNA of how are we working together, what can we do better together as we think about this work going forward. Any last comments that you want to make?
Long-term work. This is long-term. We're in it for the long term. So, it's not going to happen tomorrow because systems, they don't evolve in one day. So it takes a long time to break down some of these systems. So long-term work, but everyone needs to be a part of that.
And it's been said time and time again, stronger together. It's really true.
Thank you. Thank you both for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Andy, Linda, and Teresa. It sounds like we have a lot of work to do, but a bright future if we all work together to achieve our goal in making South Jersey the premier destination for nonprofit community. Before I bring up our final group to close us out, I want to thank all of our sponsors again for making this summit possible today. And I would also like to thank the Bernstein Private Wealth Company as a part of that sponsorship group as well. Now I would ask that Les Vail, Vice Chair, Summit Planning Committee, Andy Frazier, Executive Director, Community Foundation of South Jersey, and Nicole Nance, Executive Director, Nonprofit Development Center of Southern New Jersey, to come up and talk about our next steps.
Greg, thank you, and thank everyone in this room for taking the time to be here, and those of you who are online. As the common theme of today that you've heard has been collaboration. How do we continue to collaborate? I want to first take a step back for a minute and actually reiterate something that Mindy Holman said in her opening statements, that we need to thank Michael Willman. Michael had a vision. Okay, Michael has been part of this organization, the Nonprofit Development Center, since its inception, and he had a vision on how do we bring everybody together into a room. And the goal of today is not to be a one and done. The goal is to continue to form and foster collaborations amongst nonprofits. That's the vision. The vision is how do we work together to better the South Jersey region and to make this the most nonprofit friendly. What we have planned and what we would like to do with the help of each and every one of you is over the next 12 to 24 months begin a series of roundtable discussions to learn more about what challenges that you face, what can be done to help you better your organizations by working together, by collaborating with others, bringing nonprofits together and say, we could do this. And within the next 5 to 10 years, how do we make South Jersey the most nonprofit-friendly region in this country? We are on that goal. You hear this. You heard it today. Listen to it. Listen to the messages that you hear. Listen to the stories that we're told. Collaboration is what's going to get us through the next decade and beyond. I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank Rowan University, for hosting us here. Jessica, your staff, the catering staff are impeccable. Perlo Productions for actually taking us, beyond this ballroom and actually out to the world out there. So thank you, Mike, and your staff for all your hard work. But once again, Mike Woolman, just give you a round of applause. Thank you.
So today we talked about community. All those in attendance here today care about the health and impact of the social sector in South Jersey, and we're all in community. Our staff and board at the Community Foundation are excited to be part of this and in community with you. I want to take a moment of appreciation to thank my board members who are in attendance today, who I either know are here or know are online. Let me mention Lois Greco, Rochelle Todd Yamoa, Kyle Ruffin, Lori Pepinella from Ocean County, who's joining us online, Evan Lindhart, Joe Tredinick, and Val Galarza. Half the Community Foundation board is in this room because of the value of relationships that you all bring. So I want to thank them for being here, and thank you for being a part of this relationship today. As we think about what comes next and how we can play a role in this, at the Community Foundation, we're committed to an active role of engagement with you going forward in anticipation of that 2030 goal that we articulated in the formation of the event. That means, how do we contribute staff time and energy to this work? That means the network that we all look to provide social, financial support for members. That means the dues we pay as an organization. That means the grants we make, the sponsorships we provide are all in relationship and connection to how are we in community together. The community is involved, and there is an expectation of benefit beyond our own organizations and beyond ourselves. And so breaking down those walls of bringing more relationships into community with us. And then finally, I would say that community requires social cohesion. What that means in these very polarized times across an 8-county region is that we're looking to work across difference with any who carry a value of investing in our region as a whole to make a difference for the families and the communities that live here. So I'm excited to be part of what comes next. I hope all of you are excited to be part of what comes next, because I think we can accomplish it together as a South Jersey nonprofit community.
You made it. You made it. Round of applause for you all. You did it. Thank you all so much for coming again. I'm Nicole Nance, the Executive Director for the Nonprofit Development Center of Southern New Jersey. We appreciate you so very much. Being an advocate for over 33 years, but only being 25, it's just amazing how this works. It is an honor, and it is my pleasure to be able to be here today to watch you thrive after a global pandemic. Look at what you made happen today. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming out. Remember, use the Hoover app. Network, connect. Listen, it's here for you, and it didn't cost us $5. So use the app, use the app, use the app. It is worth it. Put the effort into it. Connect with everyone. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. If you had a wrong name tag or your table got used or something, I did it. I take the blame. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. You can blame it on me. So remember, take your pictures. Come take a picture with me, upload it, but don't step on my blue suede shoes, okay? Ryan, come on up and close us out. Thank you all so much.
Nicole's always a tough act to follow. Thanks, Nicole.
So thanks again, everybody. My name is Ryan Kastner. I'm co-chair of the Nonprofit Development Center, and really an honor to have everyone here. My first event in a long time. In talking with you guys, I think it's the same for some of you, right? So hopefully we'll have more of this in person and virtual, kind of hybrid, but it's just good to be in person and seeing all of you and collaborating. So I want to do a couple of thank yous. I know we've done a few, but the Nonprofit Development Center is an all-volunteer board. Those of us on the board will tell you we're a working board. But we put in a lot of time and we love what we do, but we can't do anything without the community and our sponsors. So, look around at the sponsors. We know we've had the names up today. Those are the folks supporting us in the nonprofit community. So let's support them, right? They're putting dollars and time and resources back towards what we do. And we really want to support them. I also want to take a moment to just read off a couple of names. This is our planning committee. And if you're in the room, if you could please stand. At the end, I'd like to do a quick round of applause. We have the chair and now famous Michael Willman. We have Vice Chair Les Vail, Larry Abrams, Crystal Adams, Darren Anderson, Isolde Benyo, Les Cohen, Debbie Duncan, Vicky Fernandez, Andy Fraser, Tynesha Gibbs, Angie McGuire, Jim McCormick, Nicole Nance, Maria Pinardo, Ira Weissman, and ex officio members Darren Blau, Paul Boland, Lou Chavalella, Mindy Holman, Judy Patel, and Tracy Sharp. Thank you so much. So I know I'm standing between you and lunch, but I'm probably also standing between 100 emails that you missed this morning. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take a couple more minutes to say a few more things. So for the Nonprofit Development Center of Southern New Jersey, I have been a member of the last 7 years. I was chair last year and co-chair this year along with Les Cohen. And folks always ask us what we do, and there's plenty of times we don't know really what we do, right? But we're working on that. But at the heart of it, our goal is to assist you guys, right? The nonprofits in making South Jersey the best community in the nation. But also, we want to make this the most nonprofit-friendly region in the nation, right? And I think today is a testament to that. So, we don't actually go out, well, we say we don't write the checks, but we do give out a grant now, so we do technically write checks. But what we do is we try to enhance our mission and help you by educating, connecting, and celebrating. And hopefully you felt that here today. I think we ticked off all three. And we've done a lot of things over the last 10, 15 years that we've been aboard, from funders events, networking events, we have our annual awards event, but nothing like this. So back to Mike Willman, who I said is now famous. I won't lie, so the only time during this pandemic I was happy to be on Zoom was when, and not in person, was when Mike Willman said, we should throw a summit in person with hundreds of people. Right? And we were in the depths of the pandemic at this point, right? And my reaction was visceral. I mean, I don't think anybody could tell because we're on Zoom, thankfully. But I just thought, there's no way in heck we're pulling this off, right? There is no way. But thankfully, the rest of the board members did not feel the same way, or if they did, they didn't say it, and I didn't either. So we said, yeah, Mike, let's see what the community thinks. So we started to get out there and ask folks, and we heard, yeah, you know what, there's support for this, right? And folks right away, financially and their time, started saying, yeah, we're on board, let's do this. So I think all of us on the planning committee and the board could say over the last year or so, there was plenty of times we thought this would not happen, and Michael always pulled us through. Michael really dedicated so much of his own time, I'm sure a lot of stressful time, Mike, but he carried us through and really put us on his back and got us here today. So what we wanted to do was present Michael with an award of our thanks. If you don't mind coming up for a minute, Mike. We have a gift coming, but this is our Chairman's Award for Michael's distinguished leadership and commitment. So thank you very much, Michael. He said it's going right on the mantle, right in his living room. So with that, we're not done. As Les mentioned earlier, right, and Les Cohen also mentioned earlier, we have some exciting stuff coming to you from this event and beyond. So I'll plug our next event. Maybe we are a little crazy because it's less than a month away. So we have our Nonprofit Awards event coming up on April 24th. It'll be at the Doubletree in Mount Laurel. May 24th, thank you. Geez, can't go back in time, can we? You missed it. It was a great time. So check our website, right? I know you can access through the Whova app or npdcsnj.org. And please register. We've got a great slate of professionals and organizations that will be celebrating that night. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So we hope you can join us there. Also consider our membership and check out our educational events upcoming. So with that, thank you again to everyone for being here. Thank you again to our sponsors and our planning committee. And see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Oh my, whew, hi.
I wanted a company that led the project, that came to it and said, okay, this is your vision, we understand what your vision is, and this is how the vision is going to be executed. And that's exactly what happened with Perlo Productions.
Perlo came back as someone that took the time to understand our unique needs and unique challenges as a business and really crafted a plan with us hand in hand.
When I approached Mike, I pretty much had my own ideas of what I thought would work, and he was incredibly receptive to listening to those, but had the expertise needed to guide me because he's been doing these videos for a long time and they do work and connect. I mean, I responded to them when I watched them on his website.